Alright guys, what's up? Welcome back. FSL Day 25. We got big lineup tonight. Hi ET. Here with me. And Seth.
What's
Howdy,
up? What's up?
So, we got quite a lineup tonight. Let's take a look at what we got. We got 4 matches.
Yeah, this is the 2 times in this season where we'll have 4 games, 4 matches in one night. But tonight is one of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Going through all the divisions. Code B, Code A, 2v2, and Code S. What are your thoughts, ET? Which one do you like the best there to watch and cast, maybe?
Man, I mean, they're all enjoyable in their own ways. I really do enjoy the 2v2s. It's not something I get to cast hardly ever, so it's a cool format to be able to hop into. But they're all going to be pretty epic.
So you're definitely casting. We're gonna start with Code A. So you'll do the Little Reaper. We're leading off with that Little Reaper versus the Archaic. So before we get talking to the players, let's take a look at the standings and let's zoom in there.
Yeah.
So Code A, right there. So how important is this, Seth?
Well, so as you can see, the Archaic and Dummy Strength, Spaghetti are already in. They cannot be knocked out because of the remaining schedule. And so there are 2 slots remaining for these 3 players. And so that's why Little Reaper, if he wins tonight, he's in.
He's in.
But
yeah.
if he loses, there's still a chance he can make it, but it'll depend on the next game for Code A.
Yeah,
So.
that's true. But that's how important this is, guys. So we'll talk about each division, the
Yep.
standings, the implication of the game, you know, the importance of the game. So, but for now,
But tonight, he's facing off the Archaic, who right now is at the top of the division.
Top of the division, exactly.
And so this will secure the Archaic the #1 seed if he does win. But we'll see. This is going to be a tough order for both of them. Alright, let's bring them in. These kiddos. Wait, we're missing. There he is. Joining us are both Little Reaper and the Archaic. It's funny, the Archaic, but the young one. And Little Reaper. One day he'll be 30 years old and still be playing with this screen name Little Reaper. But how are you two doing? Let's start with, well, since Little Reaper doesn't have his headset on. The Archaic, how are you, and are you prepared for this game tonight?
I'm pretty good. I haven't been really preparing for the last few weeks, but I completed all the campaigns of Brutal.
So you've been achievement hunting in StarCraft lately.
That may be a good preparation though for playing Little Reaper Brutal.
Brutal, yeah. So we have Little Reaper here. So the Archaic, it looks like you're sporting your new wireless mouse with a wireless charger. Show that wireless mouse again. And so if you put it there, it's charging, right? That's pretty cool. So does that help your APM at all?
I don't know, probably not.
Probably not. Alright, we have Little Reaper here. Little Reaper, how are you? Can you hear me? No?
He's having sound problems right off the bat. Quite NA. So he's
we
being
have Dark
helped right
Menace
now.
here.
Yeah, he's
Dark
helping
Menace
out.
is helping him out.
That's the
Do
manager.
you guys have any questions for the Archaic here before we switch over to the to Little Reaper?
Yeah, so PvP, how do you feel about that matchup? I know a lot of Protosses feel like it's very random, very difficult to kind of plan for. How are you feeling going into that?
According to like my ranked games, Protoss is my worst matchup.
Interesting.
Okay.
Figured
So
that
not
would be
feeling-
a decent one, yeah.
Yeah, not feeling quite the best, but, you know, still probably decently confident. Okay, cool. And you said you've been mostly playing the campaigns. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
So you've completed Brutal for Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm. Did you finish Legacy yet?
Yes, I completed all of them.
Oh. What about the last one? The what is that called? The one with Nova.
Nova Covert Ops?
I don't want to do that yet.
Okay. Alright. We lost Little Reaper here.
Yeah, like I think they're doing some
Might be rebooting his machine or
debugging.
something.
Yeah.
Alright, so any type of preparation for this game against Little Reaper? You don't have to tell us your strat tonight.
Sort of. I did last minute practices, I guess.
Okay. Alright.
So I'm hearing that Little Reaper's computer just crashed and it won't boot on the game. So he's gonna switch computers. Luckily, it happened now rather than in the game. So he's gonna switch over. We're gonna need a little bit more time, and maybe we can go through the divisions while we wait. So
Sure.
that will save us some time there.
Okay. So division-wise, if we want to bring up Code B, our entry-level division, the top three is pretty much locked in, right? By Stu Blue, Lucky Tiger, Plant Queen. And tonight's game is a very important one. I believe there are some weird scenarios, but it should be that whoever wins tonight between Miss Uber Excel and Miguela will squeeze into the playoffs. Because if Miguela wins, she'll have the head-to-head against Miss Uber Excel with the map wins. But I guess we'll really have to see how this works out. So, but if Miss Uber Excel wins, then she's in, of course.
Oh man, it's always good to see a match where both players have a lot of motivation. It's kind of make it or break it here.
Hey guys, real quick, thanks for the raid. No regret. Appreciate your raid, man, and welcome guys. Let me just talk to the viewers real quick. You guys are going from no regrets pro level stuff to casual games. So we have the kids playing today. These are casual tournament StarCraft, and we're going through the divisions. We have our own Code A, Code B, Code S level, and 2v2, just to explain to the viewers. And I'm KJ Freedom. You guys know me from Psystorm. We got our other Psystorm members here. ET Phone Home and Seth's been helping out with a lot of Psystorm stuff. Hey, ET, maybe you should put on your jersey again. Yeah, you should put that on. Let's talk about that. Because we're still kind of getting set up on the other one. But he's going to get that. But let's talk about the divisions real quick. So welcome, guys, watching. So like I said, welcome and appreciate you, Jake. No regret. So the division set. So we're set here.
Yeah, so Code B, it's pretty straightforward. There are a few more games remaining, but it's more so seeding purposes among the three top players, Stu Blue, Lucky Tiger, and Plant Queen. They're going to be facing off against each other, and so it's just going to be jockeying for position at that point.
Got it. And real quick, just to mention, the jersey we're talking about is a brand new jersey that's out now. There it is. It's a new jersey. He ordered one, and there it is. It's the new. Check out Psystorm.com if you guys are interested in that. Also, Cyan, thanks for the 49-month streak subscription.
Holy cow. That's 4 years and change.
49 months, and he's gonna be at, he's one behind the leader at 50. I think we're our players are almost ready. Let's go see if we can bring him back in.
They're actually already in. We just
they're already in. So turn on your cameras. We're gonna interview our players tonight. So
we already interviewed. Look, the Archaic. Let's just have a few questions for Little Reaper if he comes on. There he is. Little Reaper, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes, there we go. Alright, so first question is, have you been preparing for tonight? I know you just played 2 days ago, and that's a quick turnaround. It's hard to come up with new builds at that point, but are you ready for tonight's game?
I don't think so.
Uh-oh, that doesn't sound very confident.
Because I think he's been practicing for 2 weeks.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
You guys have any questions here for Little Reaper?
Yeah, so PvP, how do you feel about that matchup? Is that one you feel pretty good in, or?
I feel okay with it.
Awesome. Okay, good to hear.
Alright, well, I think we're ready to go. We just need KJ Freedom to join our lobby. We can get started. In the meantime, players, good luck. Have fun. We're going to mute and deafen you. We'll talk to you guys after the match. Alright, so we have... Alright, so ET are going to be, unfortunately, casting this solo. because neither of us, KJ and I,
Yep,
can.
it's fine. It's fine.
can
He's
join
a
you.
pro.
But yeah, he's a pro. So good luck, and let's get started.
Camera's off.
All right. Well, a PvP on Jagannatha should be a good one. I think if and I may be completely misremembering the other opponent, but I think the first match of the FSL I ever watched was these guys playing against each other in the first season, and I think they like both cannon rushed each other. I know it was Little Reaper. I can't remember if it was the Archaic on the other side of things, but I think it might have been. And I was instantly hooked. It was awesome. So it'll be good to see them going up against each other again, I believe. But all right, so Jagannatha will be our first map. You can see the players obviously over there on the left, and we will go ahead and get everybody introed in. As here in the lower left-hand side, in the teal, our Protoss player, he is
Little Reaper.
And in the upper right, in the purple, he is
The Archaic.
Okay, so right off the bat, I think Little Reaper's pylon positioning is not quite at the ramp, which can sometimes indicate a cannon rush. Especially with the probe going out that early. Might even be a proxy of some sort. Interesting. Okay, so Little Reaper coming out swinging right off the bat. Doing an almost Max Pax style from PVT, obviously, style build. We've got the high ground wall off for Jacob, and we'll have to see what comes down. This could be a 2-gate forge. It could also just be 2 gates. As I think you don't drop the pylon in the main base if you're going 2-gate forge. It's going to be 2 gateways. I think we will see, actually, maybe the forge come down as well. Oh, we had to cancel. Okay. Yeah, and it looks like it will be a forge as well. So a monster build coming out of Little Reaper right off the bat. This build, you know, you can scout it at the top level and still lose to it, or at least that was the case a little while back. We'll have to see how prepared Jacob is for this build, or the Archaic is for this build, as it's really going to make or break things here. And Little Reaper, he's, I think, kind of stopped pretending anything is going on at home. Looks like he's actually wanting to drop something at home. I don't know if that's going to be a Cybercore or what. I think he shouldn't drop anything. He has the probe there, but... Oh, okay. It's getting chased away. Forge does finish up, which means those cannons can come down. I actually kind of like the really fast Zealot. It's going to beat the Zealots of Little Reaper on the way out, which means it might be able to deny cannons or possibly even the probe. Does go for the cannons initially. Will be able to take down that first cannon. No cancel coming down for Little Reaper. Does drop a pylon on the high ground, but obviously the Zealot count is going to even out here just about. Oh, and the Archaic getting heavily supply blocked right now. Not able to produce any units right now, which means this one Zealot is going to lose this fight and will go down. I mean, I guess that'll allow him to build another Stalker behind it if it does go down. Okay, the pylon has finished up. We got cannons going down on the low ground. Definitely needs to add in some more of those. Oh, shield battery coming down. That's very smart. It's a good wall thus far. I'm not sure if he built that shield battery quickly enough, though. He really needed that a little bit earlier. And the cannons, though, are a little bit far back. Not necessarily, yeah. I feel like you should almost target your own pylon here. I'm not, I'm not an expert, but that's probably the easiest building to kill at this point. Lots of Zealots coming in, and the Archaic not producing fully off of his 2 gateways. He's floating a bit of money. Could make an extra battery. That one is going to go down. Does get the cancel, which is nice, and pulls all the boys that ever existed in his entire universe. The Zealots sort of trying to stutter step, doing a decent job. Going to tuck himself into the corner there. But this does allow the Archaic to re-wall, and every second that he's able to hold this off and get more Stalkers out, the better it gets for him. I mean, Little Reaper would have to kill a ton of probes for this to be okay if the Archaic winds up holding. He's trying to break through that gateway, doing a good job of pulling back the Zealot there. Almost broken through the first gateway. Good target fire so far out of the Archaic. A little bit sloppy, actually, but will he be able to click onto the gateway? He does not opt to click the gateway with his shield batteries, but I mean, at this point, it's just going to be a trickle of Zealots against Stalkers with a shield battery out. It does deny the high... Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. It does not deny the high ground vision. That pylon is Little Reaper's. So the cannon's still able to shell away, and the battery just about drained. I think it's just out of range, possibly, of the battery overcharge as well, which means it won't be able to come down and help here. And one Stalker does go down. The Zealots are charging in now. Well, slowly. Charging slowly in, and the Stalker trying to escape does manage to run with the help of the probes, but soon he's going to be out of production and making another gateway in the back. It is finishing up, so that's good for him. He's almost got Warp Gate out, dropping an extra battery. He's really floating a good bit of money here, though, and definitely could be making a lot more units than he has. Oh, no, he's going to get Stalker trapped! He got the... Okay, he overcharged the battery. I'm still not sure that was the best move, but it does keep him alive, so that's good overall. And the Zealot wisely running back after its shields are depleted. Very good micro out of both players thus far overall. Goodness. Oh, targeting down the pylon will depower both of the shield batteries, but the Archaic can click the batteries onto the pylon. Will he do that, though? No, he will not, which means no more batteries. And only one gateway worth of production. Little Reaper floating a lot of money at this point. I feel like you should just almost go for the probe kills here. I mean, the Archaic's production is just so slow at this point, and every little bit would help. Still, forcing the probe pull is always good here. We'll start targeting down the batteries, but it does have to pull back. That pylon still providing vision. And goodness gracious, I don't know. I really don't know how this is going to turn out at this point. There's an Adept on the other side of the map, I guess. That's a reasonable choice, but it's not being microed because he's so busy microing at home. Building 2 cannons is Little Reaper. Could have built cannons on the high ground at any point, but instead opts to build them at home. Still, as long as those do wind up cleaning up the Adept, which who knows if they will, good overall. Does lose another Stalker, but he's got out 2 gateways worth of production. He's got double shield battery. He probably has another battery overcharge available at this point. So I really feel like he's not in a bad spot at all. I think the Archaic will hold here as Little Reaper not able to get enough damage done, and now there's a good Stalker count. There's a Robo facility coming down, and a good try out of the Little Reaper, but the Archaic kills the high ground pylon. Will be able to start chipping away at these photon cannons as long as the Zealots are not able to get vision. And wow, it looked dicey for a minute there, but Little Reaper is going to GG out. Whew. It was a good try, but not quite able to close it out there. And the Archaic, a good defense, warping in that Adept on the other side, sneaking that pylon in was smart. Forced out a couple cannons, even without microing it, it still forced out a lot of response at home from Little Reaper. Was a distraction, killed some probes, so very well done overall. Obviously, our second map, as you guys can see here, will be 2,000 atmospheres. And yeah, we'll have to see what happens on that map. A very sort of similar-ish map to Jagannatha. Macro in theory, but, you know, can easily go to cheese, as we saw there. And we'll have to see, will Little Reaper be able to get a map win? Even a map win would help in his standings here, obviously. Or will he get cleaned up by the #1 spot in the group? Or at least #1 currently in the group. Likely to stay there. Pretty dominant performance out of the Archaic throughout the season, obviously, in the Code A.
You guys are
will he be able to keep that going?
FSL Season 4.
All right, in the upper right, down 0-1 with a cheeky cheese in Game 1, it is
Little Reaper.
And his opponent in the lower left, in the purple, it is
The Archaic.
Okay, so it looks like Little Reaper taking a little bit of a step back and saying, you know what, maybe cheese isn't for me. Or perhaps maybe he's just saying, maybe a later cheese is for me. we'll have to see what he chooses to go for in this game. High ground wall off with the gateway for the moment, though. And both players scouting out. A very quick scout out of Jacob saying, you know, I'd really like to find out if you're going for something like that again. Does go for a gas steal as well. As Little Reaper coming out to make a second gateway, and the Archaic not really wanting to let him do that. A couple probes rallying out now. And a gas steal. You know, I think in theory, a gas steal is not actually that good if the player knows what to do, but it's not very easy to know what to do. Because at this level, a lot of players are focusing so much on their builds and getting their builds ironed out as well as they can. And so whenever your initial build gets thrown off, it can throw you off a lot at this level because you're still learning just how to like get the buildings on time, much less learning how to adapt whenever you can't get the buildings down on time because of something your opponent did. So it's definitely something he'll have to try his best to account for. Getting the Zealot out, I think, is a good choice in this scenario. Going for a proxy pylon. It'll be hard to do all too much with that, as Jacob's also going for a proxy pylon. It'll be hard to do too much, and especially with his lowered gas count, if he does opt to proxy a tech building on that side of the map, it'll definitely make it very hard to have anything at home to defend if you spend so much gas just proxying. Because obviously, Zealot's not the best against like an Oracle or something like that. If Jacob does choose to proxy a Stargate, which is what it sort of looks like he's going to do at this point. We see his two Adepts nearly out at this point. He's actually going for a Twilight Council proxied. Or is it that he... Yeah, it's proxied. Okay, so Twilight Council, possibly DTs, maybe hoping your opponent's not going to have detection early enough. Could also just be for glaives or something like that. We'll have to see exactly what he goes for, but a cool build so far. A gas steal into a proxy build is pretty clever. As Little Reaper's just making Stalkers for the moment. He is proxying a gateway on the other side of the map, so... I feel like this could come back to bite Jacob if he's trying to go for this sort of later staged attack. And he gets hit while he's still prepping with a bunch of Stalkers off that 3 gate. And yeah, it is going to be a Dark Shrine as well as a Robo facility at home to get that Warp Prism out. Perhaps just trying to convince Little Reaper that that's the only tech he has if Little Reaper does opt to scout. But once again, if Little Reaper goes with a big attack before the Twilight Council finishes up, and he is making a Robo behind this, there's actually a pretty decent chance that he'll survive just fine here, especially if he can if he can prevent, I should say, the Adepts from getting into his base, as they are coming. And there's not a probe in position. Will he pull the Stalkers up onto the high ground? He will. That Shade was very far back, so it's not going to get him super close up to the mineral line just yet. So a decent start for Little Reaper in terms of defense. Also not target firing probes just right away is the Archaic, so Shield Battery able to do some work there. This one Adept somehow did not get shaded, or the shade got canceled, but does get out with 3 Adepts, 4 probes. Not a bad start for the Archaic, especially because he's able to keep Little Reaper somewhat busy and perhaps not scouting or getting an idea that there are DTs coming, as 2 DTs do warp in. And it's just an Immortal being made for Little Reaper at the moment, who is not even moving to the main base to try and defend this Shade in. Will finally run back now, but 2 Adepts obviously are able to out-DPS a Shield Battery if they're target fired properly, which it seems they are being. Little Reaper just kind of saying, you know what, take my base, I'm going to go try and take yours. And moving out across the map with his units, warping in some Stalkers at home to try and defend against the Adepts, but with those DTs coming on the way, won't be able to do all too much against those, as there's no detection out for Little Reaper, and his Robo's on the opposite side of the world. But Little Reaper's units are coming in. He is making an Observer now, which means his army at least won't be able to be completely stopped just by DTs, hopefully. May even opt to recall home, though, whenever... Oh, actually, it is the Archaic who warps home, but only with the Adepts, not with the DTs, which is actually good for him at this point. 2 DTs do manage to get warped in, but there is an Observer out. I think it's just... Oh, it got recalled home to try and defend against the DTs at home, which means it's not here to help on the other side of the map, and there's also no units at home. So now he's having to run it back across the map. This is going not very well for Little Reaper at this point, as nearly all of his probes have gone down. It's just the 1 probe out of the proxy remaining. Is able to kill the Immortal there, and does have a decent army, but he's losing all of it to the DTs with no detection there just yet. So I think he can... Maybe he has a shot at this if he can manage to keep his units alive until the Observer shows up, but does lose the Immortal, which is the backbone of his army currently. And the Archaic has a lot more army to work with at this point. And Little Reaper does manage to clean up a couple of the DTs, but at home he's really hurting. Loses the Nexus, only 3 probes remaining. And the Archaic moving to take an expansion, has Immortals out against just a few basic Stalkers. It's not looking too hot for Little Reaper. Will he be able to at least clean up these DTs? I'm not sure if that'll be enough at this point, but it's something. You got to start somewhere. And he's coming back with his 3 probes now. As the Archaic running away with the DTs, may even recall them. Nope, just going to hold position them, but I think Little Reaper knows exactly where they're going. Does find them, will target them down. And they'll try and get some counter damage, but not much to be had here. With Little Reaper splitting his Stalkers in all different directions, it seems. Almost gets the Stalker, actually, but doesn't quite manage to. Still, though, got to feel pretty good about killing a base in 30 probes-ish with your 2 DTs and defending at home almost perfectly. So not a bad start at all. Little Reaper, unfortunately, recalls the Observer and then has nothing to defend with it. Turns out just being able to see the men just doesn't make it feel much better whenever they stab you. And GG is called. Well, a solid effort there.
Good games. We have both of them we can interview. So good games, guys. Do you have any questions for them, ET?
Yeah, so the Archaic, when you about what time did you realize in game 1 that something a little fishy was going on? I mean, obviously you saw the pylon going down there, but at what point were you like, oh, it's this, and realized that it was going to be a 2-gate forge coming at you?
I didn't actually really know it was gonna be at 2 gates. I just like put down 2 gateways and a cyber. I just coded out a Zealot. I actually had my Zealot rally to the bottom of the ramp, so I didn't really think about it. But I realized as soon as I saw it.
Ah, right, okay. And Little Reaper, it seemed like you might be able to pull through there in that game 1 with the 2-gate forge. What do you feel kind of went wrong and allowed him to be able to hold your build? Oh. Well, I guess that wasn't a very good question.
There you go.
Oh,
No,
there
he got moved out, so he got kicked out. Turn on your camera.
I knew it. He's so evil.
Hold on, guys. What the heck's going on with these?
Oh, there we go. Okay, so what do you feel kind of went wrong in game 1 that made it so you weren't able to push through with the cannons and the Zealous Little Reaper?
I think you're on mute, or we can't hear you, Little Reaper.
I think it's because of the Zealot that he chronoed. So that gave away.
Right, and then it kind of denied your first cannon and slowed everything down. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then I imagine it didn't. You were pretty shocked when the DTs came in game 2. Did you have any idea that anything was coming your way, or were you just kind of focused on your build and just kind of taken off guard?
My observer just finished, and then he just sent a thing there, and I didn't have enough money to make anything, so I recalled it. But I just made it a stalker, but I didn't see a stalker because he killed it in one shot.
Okay, yeah. I hate it when I run out of money in games. It's definitely a rough spot to be. The Archaic, was there any points in those 2 games where you're kind of worried about your position, or did you feel pretty confident throughout?
I think after my first gateway fell in the first game, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm dead now. But then I remembered I actually had units an H button, so I could block the wall.
Okay, very nice. All right, well, I think that's about all the questions I have. KJ, you have anything you want to ask the players?
No, I'm good.
All right,
All right.
awesome.
Good games.
Well, great
then.
games, guys.
All right, moving on to Code B. We have Mrs. Uber XL and Miguela. Let's actually bring them in and see if we can have a quick chat with them. All right, joining us are Mrs. Uber XL and Miguela. How are you ladies doing tonight? If you guys can hear us.
Doing good.
All right, so if you could turn on your cameras. There's Mrs. Uber XL, and there's Miguela. All right, do you guys have any questions for our players for tonight?
Yeah. So, how have you guys been able to get some good practice going for this match? How are you feeling going into it, Miguela?
I did practice a little with EJ.
Awesome. All right. So, you feeling decently confident going into it? How are you feeling on like a scale of 1 to 10?
I would say like a 3.
3. Alrighty. And Miss Uber XL, have you been able to get some good practice going for this match?
Yeah, I think so. Been practicing a lot, couple games every night, so.
I think, is that on my end? I think we might have some mic issues.
I think it's metallic, and tech support is here to help him
All right.
help her out.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's metallic sound still.
Oh.
Okay, how about now?
Oh, that's better. There we go.
Okay. I've been practicing a couple games every night, so yeah, I'm learning.
Awesome. And I guess same question to you. How do you feel 1 to 10 on how do you feel going up against Miguela?
Probably the same. I think we're maybe the same level, so it's I don't think we either have anything to be scared about because I think we play kind of the same.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. And obviously, this is a big match for both of y'all. Whoever wins here, I think, pretty much secures the playoffs, and whoever loses, I think they still have a chance. But obviously, it's nice to have it secured. So, good luck to you both.
Yeah, my son has informed me if I win, I will lose the next round to him. So,
yeah, winner goes to the playoffs.
All right, so that's basically Stu Blue stating and declaring that he's gonna get the #1 seed. So, right. So he has a game against Lucky Tiger. That's gonna be an interesting game, but it's gonna be pretty cool. So tonight, do you guys have any questions before we deafen and mute the players? KJ?
Nope, I'm good. Good luck, ladies.
So we just
good luck, Miguela.
Miss Uber XL to join our lobby, and we can get started. Alright, so let's mute and deafen our players here. The lovely ladies of StarCraft.
Yeah, we got our own little Banshees tournament going on here, a little mini one.
That's right.
All right. Well, once again, starting out on Jagannatha. Something about PvPs and that map go well together. So we're getting ready to hop in. Yeah, like I said, a PvP. And yeah, a very evenly matched one in standings and in rank, I believe. So it'll be pretty cool to see where this winds up falling. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching
FSL Season 4.
as we cruise through the loading screen. Here we go. We'll start off in the bottom left-hand side of Jagannatha LE. It is our green Protoss player.
Miguela.
And in the upper right, in the teal, she is
Mrs. Uber XL.
Okay, well, I imagine we probably won't see the exact same build we saw in the previous game on this, or in the previous series on this map, but it'll be interesting nonetheless to see what strategy they opt for. Obviously, these players are a couple, like a league or two, I'd say, below Code A, but still climbing up that ladder. I'd say Miss Uber XL has improved, I believe, a lot over this series, over this tournament, as I believe this was her first like real experience with StarCraft. So definitely a lot of improvement there. Michaela's been improving as well, getting a little bit of coaching here and there. We've seen some strong improvements in her macro over the last few series she's played. And Miss Uber XL going for the 2-gate high ground wall off. This actually looks pretty solidly like like a regular PvP build. Which, as far as I remember, I think the first series I cast this season was actually of Mrs. Uber XL, and can definitely see a lot of improvements in the build order, getting that planned out and everything like that, which is cool to see improvement throughout. Drops that Cyber Core down at a pretty sharp timing, and has got that first gas finishing up. Might even opt, I guess with the 2-gate, probably won't opt for the expansion. Michaela, though, looks like she might. The probe is poised. Maybe not. Who knows? Anyways, we got that second pylon in Mrs. Uber XL's main. Got to see what tech choice she goes for. She's making a Zealot just to be safe. And getting that gas mined. Obviously, PvP, you can pretty much open up with whatever tech building you feel like, really. Which is... I remember in PvZ specifically, there was about a year where you didn't really see a Twilight Council or a Robo before the first 8 minutes of the game. So, getting more and more diversity in all the matchups, but PvP has always been a pretty diverse one. There's so many different build orders you can go for, which is nice for us and horrible for the players, as it makes it a whole lot harder to prepare for. But we've got Stalkers coming out for Mrs. Uber XL, the Cybernetics Core well on the way for Michaela with a couple cannons on the low ground to help defend. And Warp Gate coming down for Mrs. Uber XL, kind of posturing to take a natural base as well. Just got to build up the money for it at the moment. No tech buildings out of either player just yet. Opting more for macro and units, which is always a good choice as well, obviously. I guess that's the fourth option nobody really mentions, don't you know? As Nexus drops down for Michaela and Mrs. Uber XL's. Looks like it probably won't be far behind it. There we go. Chronoing out Warp Gate. Gotta get that out. Obviously, a very useful tech. Allows you to warp in your units pretty much anywhere you want that has power. And I think increases the speed with which you can produce units by a decent chunk compared to regular gateways. I do like already Miss Uber XL. One cool thing that she's doing to mention is just rallying and continuing to make probes even before her Nexus is done. A lot of players go, well, I'm at saturation on the amount of bases I have, and so therefore I shouldn't make any more probes. And that's not necessarily true. It can be very good to over-probe, so to speak, initially, and then you can always transfer them or just have them long-distance mining, and then whenever your base is done, instead of having to then start making probes at 20 probes, you can continue making probes and have like 30 to 35 or something like that in this case. So a good mechanic to see, especially at this level, you know, one you might not expect to see in Gold League, but good to see nonetheless. So we do have Warp Gate finished up for both players. Michaela, she does like those DTs, and she's got a Twilight Council dropping down. Will she opt for a Dark Shrine behind it, though? She's making lots of cannons, plays very defensively generally, and then tries to get counter damage done with the DTs. Miss Uber XL, though, just probing up real hard, making a couple of extra gates and making lots of stalkers. When really, there we go. It's a robo facility. That's perfect. Exactly what we needed to see. As, well, I guess Michaela, there we go. Dark Shrine. I was going to say I shouldn't speak before it drops, but there you go. Dark Shrine does come down, so the Robo timed pretty well to be able to get detection out against that. As long as she actually makes detection, she'll be in a really good spot here. As she's up 11 workers, which is a good spot to be, up 10 army supply as well. And about to have 4 gateways finished up, so going to have a good amount of production as well. Blink coming down as well for Miguela, which is good to see. That Robo finishing up shortly. And even if we don't see an observer out of it immediately, that's okay. It was far enough ahead of the Dark Shrine that she's got a little bit of wiggle room. And obviously Miguela does not have anything out on the map, so we'll have to warp in at home to make those DTs. And a lot of times she likes to do that anyways, warp in at home, make sure she's safe, and then send the DTs out across the map. So a little bit of time will go by before we see them hitting across the map. Miguela opting for charge, actually. I think she canceled Blink and is now going for charge. So it's going to be charge, zealots, and DTs. Might even see DT Blink coming out here shortly. Dropping down some extra gateways. So kind of an on-the-fly adjustment here out of Miguela, actually. And a lot of gateways coming down from Miss Uber XL. That's a good amount of production. Obviously, it's a hard thing to balance, making enough production for your economy, but also, on the flip side, I guess, making enough economy for your production sometimes. But it seems like she's balancing that really well, the amount of gateways to the amount of probes she has. And going to take a third base. Might even go for an assault behind this, though, as she's got a lot of units and the ability to make a whole lot more as well. Wouldn't necessarily mind seeing her defend as well, though, and just macro up, as we do have the DT coming out. I think still no detection out. Yeah, it's still just one Zealot and a bunch of Stalkers from Miss Uber XL. But you can get an Observer out pretty quickly if you chrono it, so no big deal just yet. The DT kind of waiting for Miguela at this point, as DT Blink is being researched and Charge getting close to finishing up as well. An Observer, though, being made for Miss Uber XL already. We'll have it out with plenty of time to spare, it would seem. And it is starting to get some work done on the probes, but the Observer's out somewhere, I think. Yeah, the Observer is out. Here it comes, sailing down. And obviously, Miss Uber XL can afford to lose a few probes as she's got a lot already. She's still losing 12 probes, still up 2, and has that third Nexus. So we'll be able to outproduce Miguela as far as probes go still, as long as she keeps that up and going. 2 Stargates coming down from Mrs. Uber XL, as well as Charge, so getting a little bit of everything. Robo, Stargates, and Twilight Council. That third base coming down as well, continuing to probe. And Miguela, though, did manage to even out the supply a good bit with that DT. So not too bad at all. Getting a little bit supply blocked, though. Miss Uber XL has a lot of supply available, which is good, and has a lot of production, so she is starting to race ahead a little bit once again. Resetting after that DT came in, and now back on her feet, doing not too shabby. Miguela dropping a lot of pylons to make sure she doesn't get supply blocked again in the near future, which is always a good strategy to do. Once you got enough economy, just drop a few extra pylons so you can focus on other things. And actually, Miguela dropping a pylon on the other side of the map might be a forward outpost for a large attack, or it could just be to warp in some DTs. Miss Uber XL just making a disgusting amount of Stalkers at this point. Up to 29. And an Immortal and a Zealot. And a lot of probes as well. 47 sitting at a good count. Could make a few more, obviously, but still she's starting to mine out in that main base a little bit, so she still has pretty optimal saturation for the setup she has base count-wise. Obviously could move a few of those probes out to the third base, but not too bad. Miguela, though, finally taking her third base, which is good. Needed to get that in there now that she's starting to mine out her main as well. And it's going to be a Fleet Beacon and some Void Rays coming out for Miss Uber XL. Continual Void Ray production might even make Void Ray speed. So they're zippy boys. As some extra gateways coming down for Miguela. A big supply advantage for Mrs. Uber XL at this point, though. And +1 even coming in. We've got upgrades coming down. Nobody panic. There's a lot of cannons and some batteries coming down at the third base for Miguela. And it is indeed going to be Flux Veins and +1 air as well coming for Mrs. Uber XL. She's building up a real powerful army at this point and spending her money very well. Both players are, actually. So very good macro out of everyone thus far. We do have DT Blink, so some harassment potential there for Miguela, but she's really got to get something going, or else I think Mrs. Uber XL might max out and then just kind of walk across the map. Okay, a few Void Rays still out. Kind of paused production on those a little bit. Is making the Tempest upgrade now and making some Tempests. Interesting. Very good for killing buildings, obviously, and good at some siege tactics. But just making a whole lot of units, which, as a lot of streamers and casters like to say, more stuff beats less stuff in this game. So, you know, a good strategy, to be honest. No upgrades coming down from Miguela yet, even with that forge, mainly just used for cannons at this point. Does have the third base now, though, and is sending in some units to Miss Uber XL's third base, and since she's chilling in the main, she's not here to defend it just quite yet, but does move out, has the observer there to clean up the DTs, so 8 probes go down, does actually catch Miguela up just about in the worker count, but not too bad of a cleanup at the same time for Mrs. Uber XL. Opening lots of Archons is Miguela, though. Very tanky units, and charge lots are very good against Stalkers, so if Mrs. Uber XL doesn't kind of leverage her supply advantage whenever she maxes out, it's possible that Miguela will be able to max out as well. And I think that her army is technically better compositionally. It will be down in upgrades, so it might not end up mattering. But Void Rays and Stalkers and Immortals are not really that great against Zealots. So yes, more stuff beats less stuff, but if you don't move out while you have the more stuff and kill the less stuff, then the less stuff eventually becomes the same amount of stuff. And then if there's same amount of stuff is better than your stuff, you die and stuff. So something to watch out for. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff, to be honest. Lots of cannons as well, though, for Miguela, so it is possible if Mrs. Uber XL opts to move out and attack that the cannons and batteries would be able to tip the battle at the same time. But, I mean, she is making Tempests, which are good against cannons. So there is that as an option. And indeed, she maxes out, and she goes, you know what? I've got army to burn. And so it's like, you know, whenever you got money burning a hole in your pocket, and as in StarCraft, it's you've got to max out burning a hole in your pocket, really. So moving out, comes into the third base. Looks like she will be able to clean up the cannons and everything before Miguela's army can show up to help out, which means that advantage for Miguela will be removed. Looks like she's contemplating whether or not to even move out, and is like, you know what? I never really liked that third base anyways. I just had to pay so much in property taxes, and the location wasn't great, and I thought I liked it when I first saw it, but really the upholstery needs to be redone, and she just decides not to do anything. Now does move out, now that she's got the shield batteries and stuff, and I actually do like that move. Kind of, you know, I lost my batteries and everything at the third base. Wait until she comes to the net and then try to hold. It looks like it may not matter just because Miss Uber XL has so many things, but still a good strategy out of Miguela for the fight there. Even if it does not end up mattering, which it looks like it may not. There is still detection here, so those DTs won't be able to do all too much. The Archons did tank for a long time, but at this point, a massive 100 supply advantage for Miss Uber XL, and GG is called. Well. Jagannatha once again goes to the north. Very well played out of Mrs. Uber XL there. Did not sit on her max out, which I like. Leveraged her supply advantage and was able to clean the game up there. And what a supply advantage it was indeed. Being able to catch the army out of position a little bit there, so she's able to clean up the cannons and batteries at third was obviously helpful as well. But overall, very well played. Because it will be Light Shade for our map number 2. Which is another pretty macro-focused map. We haven't seen too many of the wonky maps today, which is somewhat to be expected. It's already hard enough to play the game, much less on really weird maps, so I don't really blame them for going for the standard ones in these matchups. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching
FSL Season 3.
all right here in the bottom right-hand side. She's struggling to make a comeback. It is
Miguela.
and in the upper left, in the teal, it is.
This is Uber XL.
And she is, of course, up 1-0. Miguela once again opting for that low ground wall off, and Mrs. Uber XL going for the high ground one. As down drop our gateways for each player. Now, the previous game, Miguela was able to get some good damage done, but Mrs. Uber XL just had, I'd say, in that game at least, superior macro, was able to just make more stuff. So she was able to lose quite a few probes, and it didn't end up mattering at the end of the day. But will that happen again, or will Miguela be able to find enough damage to overcome? All right, gas is dropping down for Miguel. Well, maybe. They were about to, and then they didn't. Perhaps opting for, yeah, I gotta make some cannons instead to be safe. And Mrs. Uber XL, I think, has forgotten her cyber core, potentially. Forgot her gases as well, maybe. Yeah, it does make the gases now. Still no cyber core, so it's definitely a little bit late at this point. The second gateway's already finished up and still no core, which won't hurt too much just yet, but the later it goes, I think she's about to drop it now. And there we go. It does drop down. Not, well... Well, here it comes. It's about to any second now. There we go. All right, cyber core does drop down. So not too late into the game. And those gases will be able to start getting mined as well. Slight little adjustment I'd like to see here is for her to maybe just take a slightly faster natural, since she doesn't have the ability to produce stalkers out of her gateways just yet. Is opting to make some zealots, though, so she is safe in case, you know, doesn't want to get punished for not getting that cyber core right away. Looks like nothing will be coming her way nonetheless, but still, good safety maneuver. Is mining gas now, and we'll be able to make warp gate, make it a stalker as well. And everything is calm for the moment. Players will likely drop their natural bases in the near future. And making some units, making that warp gate. Miguela obviously probably going to go for DTs again because they are a good unit in this game. So wouldn't be shocked to see that. Mrs. Uber XL changing things up a little bit, opting for a pretty quick robo instead of just a fast expand with stalkers behind it. A solid switch up whenever your opponent went DTs in the game before. You know, not bad. Very reasonable, in fact. As Miguela doing a good job of dropping her pylons at all the right times and all the right places. And Mr. Uber XL making some stalkers. Twilight Council nearly finished up for Miguela. Robo nearly done for Mrs. Uber XL. And that natural base quite a bit ahead for Miguela at this point. Possible that Mrs. Uber X is going to go for some sort of... I think she's mining with probes in the natural, so nope, there we go. Just a little bit of a delayed nexus so she could get that tech building out. Not bad. Warp gate finishing up for both players. And the Dark Shrine, we see it. It's queued up. There it comes. And it will drop down. DTs. But there is already a robo out, which means there's a pretty good chance there will be an observer when any DTs do opt to come across the map. Miguela going for a little bit of a scout, perhaps to drop a proxy pylon as well for those DTs so they can get across the map just a little bit faster. And there comes the observer, though. Ruh-roh, Raggy. But obviously just having the observer does not mean the observer will be in the right spot to deal with the DTs, so still definitely a possibility there. I think Miguela mainly sending that probe there to try and scout for any sort of attack that may come walking out the door. Oh, does scout and see if there's a natural. It does see some stalkers, sees the natural base, kind of gets a good picture of what's going on. An even worker count thus far in this game. And a lot of extra gateways once again dropping down for Mrs. Uber XL, making it immortal as well. Already has that observer out. 2 zealots warping in, charge coming down for Miguela. And some extra production for Miguela coming down now as well. So mimicking each other a little bit there are our players. Worker count's quite even, but Mrs. Uber XL has managed to make quite a few more units amidst all that. And mining a lot of gas. And the supply lead is slowly drifting towards Mrs. Uber X once again. She's been very on top of those warp-ins, very good at making additional gateways when needed, probing pretty consistently throughout each game we've seen. Archon being warped in now for Miguela. Might opt to not send any DTs in, as there was some good detection out in the previous game, but may just wait and send them in a little bit later as well. As even more gateways dropping down. Perhaps going for an assault of her own this game is Miguela, or just want to make sure she has enough production to be able to defend at home. As once again, Charge Lot Archon actually does pretty well against just Stalkers and a couple Immortals. So if she does manage to get a good amount of units out, could maybe go for some sort of an assault, as Miss Uber X just now dropping her Twilight and her Forge. Gonna be able to get a lot of upgrades going a little bit earlier on this game as well, which is nice. Good little adjustment there out of Mrs. Uber XL. Oh, and there's the double Stargate as well. Not to be outdone. We see the observer there obviously just waiting for some DTs. Let me at him, he says. Unfortunately, the DTs are working from home today. So, oh, and they're also Archons. So, you know, doubly so. Not going to happen, probably. Third base looks like it may come down here for Miguela, and there we go. So a faster third base, which was a little bit of a switch up from the previous game where Mrs. Uber XL managed to get her third base down a little bit quicker. So good moves out of Miguela thus far. Still, though, that's a lot of Stalkers, a lot of army. And there come the Void Rays. Chad Rays, as Pig would call them, I suppose. +1 air weapons come down as well. Might see, yep, there comes Charge, and +1 attack for the ground units. So good upgrades coming out for Mrs. Uber XL, up to almost a 30 supply lead. No third base just quite yet, but still ahead in workers for the moment. That will change, obviously, as this third base comes into effect more and more, or likely will change. Cannons and shield batteries coming down at the third base for Miguela. And there comes Mrs. Uber XL's base. The DTs moving in, warping in very slowly, but we'll be able to kill that Stalker. Of course, that will alert Mrs. Uber XL to its existence, most likely, and does warp in more DTs now. defends the pylon so she can warp in some more units. The third base, though, should get defended. Yep, here comes the Observer. Well, just targeting the pylon, though. Oh, she warps in Archons. I think those Archons will wind up dying as they did not get recalled, but a good idea nonetheless out of Michaela. Loses a lot of resources there, though. But Mrs. Uber XL, she's not warped in units in quite a while. She's been sitting at just about 100 supply for quite a little bit now. I would definitely like to see some more warp-in cycles coming in for her, as Megala's starting to catch up a little bit in that supply. Down less than 10 supply. It was 30 but a couple minutes ago. And that's with losing, what, 8 supply in Archons? So really starting to catch up in quite a big way as far as the supply counts go here. But there comes some more warp-ins. She does have a lot of money. She's good for it. She's got a good credit score in this game. So we'll be able to continue making units whenever she remembers to, I suppose. Zealot does go down. There are plenty of Void Rays out at this point. +1 air armor, +1 ground finishing up. Getting armor upgrades there as well. Both players macroing up on that third base. Although Megala's not quite rallied correctly, so there are some probes just chilling on a coffee break. Oh, she tried to rally them and I think misclicked again. Yeah. That's what I do when my boss shows up and I'm loitering. I just move slightly and then continue loitering. So it's a good plan out of those probes, I must say. All right, lots of DTs and Archons and Zealots. Oh my. As Mrs. Uber XL sticking to her roots and making a bajillion Stalkers. A stunning amount. Which have been slow warping in this entire game, by the way. But it hasn't mattered. Not yet, at least. So no harm, no foul. Upgrade's going to be coming up, though. And with that supply lead and an upgrade advantage, should be putting her in a pretty good spot at this point. Moving out a little bit is Megala, though. With just a few Zealots and Archons. I'm not sure. I feel like you'd either need to do an all or nothing kind of move out here as Megala. We'll see how this goes, though. She does opt to go in with it. But Miss Uber XL's army is positioned in a nice choke up a ramp, so Megala not super likely to get anything done with its attack if she does opt to go in. But hasn't opted to do so just yet. Continuing to warp in some more DTs. Here comes this chunk of the army. Is attacking, but tries to walk up onto her. Kills a few Stalkers, so not terrible at the end of the day, but definitely not the best trade we've ever seen. And now a 50 supply lead for Mrs. Uber XL, who's just continuing to macro up. Racing at top speed towards that max out. And Megala gets her supply count reset a little bit there, to be honest. Is going for a robo facility, so maybe trying to go for disruptors. I mean, a couple disruptor hits against that massive pack of Stalkers who do not have blink at this point. Could definitely be a bit of a game changer. But here comes the mighty Horde. Move commanding its way to victory. Alright, here we go. Attack moves. Stalkers firing away at the Archons and Zealots, and so far, fight going pretty well for Mrs. Uber XL. I mean, the Archons and the Zealots do soak a lot of damage from Stalkers, but there's just so many of them. And I think we'll see Mrs. Uber XL push through and be able to secure her spot in the playoffs with a solid 2-0. And once again, just a massive improvement from her throughout this season of FSL, so very good to see. You can see she practiced hard, and it's paying off here as she pushes into this third base, has managed to clean up Megala's entire army, and is now destroying the probes. We'll be able to move up into that natural base as well here shortly, or maybe we'll just go home. I don't know. It's too close to call at this point. Those probes learning the consequences for taking breaks while on a work site get absolutely demolished by the Stalkers there. Still making upgrades behind this as well. Is Mrs. Uber XL going to move towards that natural base now after checking for a fourth base, sees there's none there. And we'll move up on in. We'll be able to clean up the cannons and Just in a very good spot overall. Cleans up the last forces of Miguela. Well, I guess not the last. Now the last, I think. Yeah, the last. GG is called.
GG's,
Wow.
ladies.
Man, oh man, what a series. All right, well, I guess we'll start with our Victor here. How are you feeling about that series? Feeling pretty good, I imagine?
First game's good. I was kind of mad at myself with the second game, but...
Okay, well, yeah, I think it was a good adjustment to drop that Robo a little earlier because you knew she went for DTs in the first game, or at least maybe I'm writing, putting words in your mouth, but I imagine that's probably putting builds in your order. I don't know. Anyways, was there anything you really felt? What was the thing I guess that you felt went wrong in the second game that you did pretty well with in the first game?
It just felt like the flow was better in the first game. Second game, I just kept getting clustered with stuff. So,
okay,
I don't know.
Well, were there any points where you were worried about how the games were going, or are you feeling pretty confident throughout that series?
No, I was feeling pretty confident. The first one, it felt right. The second one, I kept running out of minerals, so I got to figure out why that was different from the second than it was from the first.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, very well played overall. You had some pretty good macro moves there, and I can definitely say because I think I cast your first series this season, and now I think you're last in the group stage, and you've definitely improved a lot. So very well done. You've definitely put in the work, and it's paid off for you. So very well done. I guess we can ask Miguela. Miguela, what do you think went wrong in that series for you?
I just don't think. I think I should have went before. I could see she had a lot of stalkers, and I don't really know that much about StarCraft. I mean, I'm not that far into it, so I didn't know how to, go against stalkers. So I just kind of tried my best.
Okay. Well, you did a very solid try. You got a lot of damage done with the DTs in the first couple games, even when there was detection out, so very well done overall. And well played by both. KJ, you got any wrap-up questions for our players?
Yeah, Miguela, on the first game, when she attacked your third base, you just kind of ran away and kind of got, clogged up in your own side. Why did you run away? Were you not sure? Or?
I think, yeah, I was I was kind of nervous. I didn't really want to lose all of my units because she had so much.
Got it. Okay. That's all.
All right. Well, GG's to our players. Well played. And I guess Mrs. Uber XL, good luck in the playoffs.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, guys. Please.
All right, the games.
Can I say one thing to Miguela?
Sure.
Okay, Miguela, I will tell you one thing that really helped me out was if you do a 1v1, or you're playing versus a computer and you win, keep playing that game and test out all the different types of units, because then you can see how they work and how they operate when you're not, because the game's already over, you already won, but continue playing the game because nobody's attacking you, so it kind of helps you out as a new player, or at least it helped me out. It helped me play with everything.
Good suggestion. Actually, the pros do that still. I see some streamer pros. They let the game go and they just kind of keep doing stuff with it, even though the game's over.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. So, Seth, let's bring in our next batch. And guys, just to let you know, we're on our third match now.
Yeah, so we are
2v2s.
Jumping into our 2v2s. We're gonna move Mrs. Uber XL. Thanks again for the game. And we'll bring in Mizelle, Sir Maligant, Cyan, and Lucky Tiger.
That's a lot of people.
A lot of people. How are you guys doing?
Just good, just good.
Good.
Just played a warm-up game.
Nice.
That's all
Verse
we can
each other?
do.
There you
No,
go.
2-on-2.
Probably a good idea.
Feed your camera, Maligant, then we're set.
Look at that. Are we serious? That's what's going to do to me tonight? All right,
Ooh,
let's
that's
go.
that's
Press
cool.
X.
Packers shirt there, Lucky Tiger. You had a light on, then you turn it off.
Hang on.
Is that what you did?
No, it was I'm getting that 404 pager for StarCraft. And
I mean 404 from Discord, right?
okay.
Yeah. We all got it. Mizel posted it even in one of the channels.
Yeah, we just need Maligant's camera, then we're set.
Oops, hang on. It's not turned on. My apologies.
All right. Well, Benzel, how are you guys feeling going into this match? I heard you just played a practice game. Feeling pretty good, pretty in sync.
We're kind of excited because we're debuting our logo.
Yeah, not a moment too soon, I would say.
I know, right? Because we got criticized from the last game. I guess that's what happened. It's like, what the heck? These two guys practically do this on their sleep, but they couldn't provide one. so Mizel put it into his own hands and created the logo. So hopefully we'll have a logo to debut.
Awesome.
I was laughing so hard when I watched the VOD.
Well, good to hear. Good to hear. All right, and I guess is it Predators, right? How are you guys feeling?
Feel pretty good. We didn't get like any practice in, just busy with kid stuff, football, softball, and all that stuff. So we didn't really have any time to get some games in together. But I know he's been playing a lot of 1v1s, and I've been doing kind of the same. So we'll see how this goes.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm excited. 2v2s are always pretty cool. Anybody want to say anything to the opposing teams? Anybody got any fighting words? If not, it's okay. I can make some up for you guys.
I'm coming after you, Malikat. Yeah, is that what you wanted to say?
Yeah, there you go. All right. Cool.
If I could get on StarCraft, yeah. Oh, gosh. I'm still waiting for it.
Just to make sure everyone understands the stakes of this game, it ain't
Oh,
much
gosh.
for Benzel, is it? It's important they win, but for Predators, they can be spoilers.
Oh, yep.
You
Definitely.
can see the record right there. You know, Predators can spoil this thing for Benzel, and they could be knocked out in the playoffs. You never really know, right, Seth? I think that's the case.
Oh wait, so if we lose this game, we get knocked out? Oh
You might
man.
be knocked out.
You had to tell them that.
You might be knocked out. I'm saying you
Oh,
go
okay.
down.
Let's just say if you guys win this, you have a high percentage of getting
I
it.
see. Got it.
It'll ruin things for you. That's for sure.
Got it.
Yep, so we're just waiting for both the Predators players to get on StarCraft, then we can
I'll
get
be back.
going.
Do you not see me on there?
I don't see you guys.
Okay, there you go.
There you
They're in now. They're getting in.
There we go.
Oh, because I wasn't in the FS. Okay, got it.
Alright, we're just waiting for Lucky Tiger, and we'll talk to you guys after the match. Go to your respective channels.
Alright, good luck guys. Have fun.
Communications down pat. Let's do this.
Alright, guys. So while they're getting set up here, set that up. So if you guys can take a look at the map vetoes and the selections.
Yeah, so let's see. I'm starting to learn a little bit about the maps. We can kind of see we've got all the ones where your bases are split away from each other on one side are vetoed, which is pretty common. It's obviously a lot nicer to be right next to your ally when they need help being defended against two people at once. And Efflorescence, obviously, I would say is probably the shortest rush distance map in the pool, so not surprised to see that get vetoed. We've got a lot of big maps on here, it looks like. As big as you can get as far as 2v2s go. Obviously, with 4 players on a map, it gets a little bit crowded. But, you know, doing what they can.
Alright, well, I think we're... Oh, he dropped off again. Sorry, guys. We're having a little bit of tech difficulties with
Yeah, I think he said he's having trouble getting onto the game, unfortunately. I guess he's having trouble not just with StarCraft, but with Discord, but StarCraft as well. Looks like he is there though, so has managed to make it on. So yeah, it'll be heavy artillery to start off. This map, it's a very conjoined main base and a pretty easily defendable natural bases for each player, and I think a pocket base as well, which might even be a gold if memory serves. So definitely some cool things you can do on this map.
Okay, let's see if these guys having a minor issue still. Interesting. So we're showing the maps while we're waiting for them to get going. Let's talk about the results now. So code B.
Yeah, I'm gonna update code B. I haven't updated it yet, but you can
She
take a look at
hasn't
code
updated.
A.
Let's go to code A.
Oh yeah, actually I did. Yeah, code
you
B
did.
is done. So those are your 4 players. It's now just seedings 1 to 3.
Okay, there you go, guys. We have our results. The top 4. We just don't know the seeding exactly just yet.
And code A is actually interesting.
Let's look at code A.
Because Casper is in regardless of what happens between Casper and Hyper Turtle. Because if Hyper Turtle wins, Casper and Little Reaper will be tied and Casper will win the head-to-head. But if Casper wins, Hyper Turtle and Little Reaper will win that head-to-head.
That's true.
So regardless if Casper wins or not, he's actually in because of tiebreakers.
Yeah, it just depends on who he beats, basically.
Yeah. And so right now, if I'm Little Reaper, I'm cheering for
Casper
to win.
That's right. That's the big
And
one.
so,
CBZ, so who knows?
Yeah. Well, actually, Casper's been playing random, and he indicated that he was thinking about doing random for the 1v1s.
He did it for the teams, but I don't know if he'll do it for the 1v1s. We'll see.
We'll see. Knowing if he found out that he's in regardless, he might
Maybe
try it
he'll
out.
screw
I don't know.
around. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well.
But yeah.
Find
So we're
out.
just waiting for Insanity C, aka Lucky Tiger, to get back on Discord. I think he was having Discord issues.
Yeah, it just seems like every social media platform on the planet the last couple weeks has been absolutely losing their minds.
Yeah.
It's not a good day to be a part of social media platforms, I suppose.
True.
And so with this game, though, if we look at the standings... Oh, looks like he's back on Discord, so let's see. Alright, they are ready. Okay, we can talk about 2v2
Alright.
standings later. But, let's get going.
Alrighty-roo. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody, welcome. We are starting out. It's going to be Heavy Artillery LE, and you are watching
FSL Season 4.
All right. We're starting out in the bottom left-hand side. It is our green Terran player. He is
DLS Mizel.
And his ally in the teal, also a Terran player. He is
Sir Maligan.
And ladies and gentlemen, nobody get too excited, but they actually have an intro this time. They are
Benzel.
And I mean, in the upper right-hand side, their opponents, the blue Protoss player, he is
Cyan.
And the orange Protoss, his ally, he is
Lucky Tiger.
And together they are
Predators.
And you know, I just gotta say, that logo was one of the highest quality intro logos, probably the highest quality intro logo in the league. So clearly, KJ was completely right that they could have done this at any time. And just opted not to. So, still though, did look quite epic. Perhaps they can team up again in the next season and continue using it. We'll have to see, but very nice. All right, in the bottom left here, we've got the barracks finishing up. Orbitals going down for both players. There's factories as well, and it is indeed a pocket base. It's not a gold base though, so I stand corrected. As our Protoss players, Lucky Tiger going for a couple of early cannons. Because I think does he have a jump spot there that he's worried about? I think he might. Yeah, he's a little bit worried about Reapers possibly coming in. So, obviously we've seen Benzel, no stranger to the aggression. Absolutely a Sturmjang, you're right. It's just that they've been hard at work on it for 8 months, and that's why it's so high quality. Anyways, we got the factories finishing up. But yeah, I like the cannons, with how aggressive our Terran players have been. Not a bad option. Not a bad option at all. As we do have our Cyber Cores finishing up for our Protosses. The Terrans, it looks like Mazel is going to be expanding, and Maligan, probably not too far behind, does have an SCV in position, but hasn't dropped the CC just yet. Opting for a very quick Armory and Starport, maybe for another burrowed, permacloaked Widow Mine play, since they did have some decent success with that in some of their previous series. And haha! Anticipatory cannons win again, nerds. As the Reaper does get taken down. And it is a medevac coming out. He is putting a reactor on his factory, so likely will be some Widow Mines coming out of there, I'd have to guess. Yep, there's number 1. Number 2, likely not far behind. And Cyan in position with his Stalkers for anything that might come in. Nothing going to come in just quite yet, but does have a good number of Stalkers. And obviously Lucky Tiger with his 4 cannons, not likely to get a whole lot of Widow Mine damage done against him. So as of now, this drop is not looking super promising. Still though, could go his way very easily. I think he definitely should react to the scouting he got with that Reaper. It would be good to see him go to the north side. Perhaps worried that Cyan's defense is just going to be a little bit too on point, as Cyan is a pretty solid player in 1v1s. Obviously, he is in that code S. So maybe just a little bit worried about that. So going to be like, you know what? He may have cannons, but I think I have a better shot at getting damage done against him anyways. We'll see if that's true. I can tell you that the Permacloak probably not going to be the most useful thing, since there's 4 cannons around, but could still get some damage done with those initial shots for sure. As the natural bases are finished up for our Terrans, same for our Protosses, a pretty good scans ahead, sees a whole lot of cannons, so not bad. Not bad at all. We'll probably just burrow up on the natural base, which is, I think, a good plan. There's no Robo out just yet. It's just finishing up for Cyan, so if we will be able to get observers eventually, but it will take him a little while. And oh, I think this mine might actually get burrowed. It does. He does pull away, but it is permacloaked, and he hasn't started an observer just yet. So, ooh, not a good flight path for that medevac. But the mines are burrowed. There's a lot of probes chilling with the Stalkers, so potential for damage to be done there. This one is going to finish up and be able to get some more probes. Boom! 3 probes for the one mine. The other one does get taken out before it can fire again. Charge on the way, but I mean, what we see behind this is that Cyan and Lucky Tiger had almost nothing on the production tab for that entire Widow Mine assault. Whereas Maligan and Mazel, their production tab is quite full and nice and voluptuous. So they actually have a pretty good supply lead. Cyan barely ahead of Sir Maligan, and DLS Mazel taking a pretty decent supply chunk advantage there. And so yeah, I mean, that indirect damage obviously is very important. Lucky Tiger has something chilling in the left-hand side of the map outside Mazel's base, but I think that might be, yeah, so it's a potential DT later on, although the Dark Shrine just started, but could warp in some Stalkers or Zealots as well, as Charge is close to finishing up. Mazel, though, as we've seen in previous series, he has some pretty good macro. If he can just be allowed to macro, he gets quite a big army out. So we'll have to see if he manages to do that in this game. I think that Warp Prism may be just out of view for Mazel. And the Dark Shrine coming ever closer to finishing up. Third base coming down for Mazel. So once again, the supply advantage is going to start being bigger and bigger potentially as the macro went in. Lucky Tiger sets up in the wrong spot. Will just barely make it out, but now the Hellions know, sadly, they can't shoot up, but they can look very angrily at the Warp Prism. He's going to try and warp in some Zealots, but not going to get all too much done with, well, I mean, if he pulls the SCVs, but it's a move command. Obviously, you can't give units attack moves while they're warping in, so a lot of times you move command them so you can look away, but they'll still run into the mineral line. But in that case, end up biting him in the butt a little bit, as this Widow Mine does deny this expansion purely by existing. I do wonder why he's trying to take this base and not the closer one, but then somehow Maligant predicted he would do that and put a mine there, but not at the other one. So an interesting game of cat and mouse going on there, I guess. Although usually the cat kills the mouse and doesn't just stand there next to it. Although it also usually doesn't burrow into the ground and blow the mouse up. So I guess, you know, the analogy doesn't work that well. Stalkers will clean up the Widow Mine, so he'll be able to expand now. But definitely a slight economic advantage going to the Terrans in the bottom left at this point, which is not what you typically expect to see in a Protoss versus Terran. Obviously, this is a Protoss versus a Terran, but, you know, same concept. The DT came in, I believe, but Siege Tank's pretty decent against DTs once they can see them. So, does clean it up. And Mazel, I mean, looking strong in the supply, up almost 30 supply from the highest supply Protoss, which is, of course, Cyan there. Up in workers as well. And up in supply blocks, which is not necessarily a good thing to be up in, but at least you're up. As Thor's coming out now, we see Mech, obviously, as we've talked about in previous series. Mazel is from the, and maybe, I hope I'm remembering this right, the Philippines. So, you know, a bit of ping from there, just a little bit. So obviously, Mech going to be a little bit harder, or no, sorry, a little bit easier to micro with that high ping than Bio. Oh yeah, there you go. So Philippines to US West. Could be worse, could be US East, but still, you know, it's going to be a good bit of ping for him there. So playing with Mech, so it's a little bit easier on him to hit those bits of micro he has to do. Plus, how often do you see Mech against Protoss anymore? There was like a little period of time where the Terrans were like, maybe this can work, and then they're like, nah. So, but that was at the highest levels of StarCraft. This is not the highest levels of StarCraft. And for some people, that might be a downside. But for many others, myself included, it's an upside at times, because you get to see these kinds of things and you get to see them work, because nobody's perfect at this level. Granted, I guess nobody's technically perfect at the highest level, but they're pretty close. they get decently close to it, man. But anyways, the gold base taken for Maligant, taking a fourth base as well, so becoming a bit of a macro beast there. And Mazel heading up towards a max out off Thor tank, which is a nasty composition. A lot of damage potential there. So Cyan taking a fourth base as well, and Lucky Tiger does have his third. So, you know, I'd say advantage to Terrans for the moment. They've definitely got to leverage that supply advantage like we talked about in the previous series. Because being maxed out 2 minutes before your opponent doesn't help that much if you let them get maxed out anyways before you do anything. Does lose the prism there out of the corner of my eye, but coming in towards the planetary, and there's no army really here, but I think Mazel is saying, okay, you can have that. I'm just going to run over here and kill your base. Oh, never mind. He's going to come down. He's actually going to be able to get in behind the army of the Protoss. I'm not sure if that'll allow him to win, but dang, does it look like a smart tactical maneuver anyways. And I mean, a lot of BCs, there's not that many Stalkers. And does anti-armor missile, but actually only hits the Colossi, but good micro out of Maligant thus far with the VCs. And Cyan slightly mistargeting there, will not be able to get any VCs and loses his entire army, which is not a great thing, as Mazel maxing out during the fight without even having to do any sort of a remax, just maxes out straight up. we'll be able to push in on this base, and with that, I mean, a strong position for our Terrans at this point. Maligan supply is, you know, pretty even with the Protosses, but Mazel with that strong mech army, and obviously Maligan supply quite dense with 7 battle cruisers out. You know, that's some hefty supply right there. Pushing in to this 4th-ish base of Cyan. Cyan will be able to pull away to his 3rd base as he's not that overprobed yet. So we'll be able to continue mining decently well. A little bit overmined there on the 3rd, but, you know, nobody's perfect. Anti-armor missile comes in on Lucky Tiger's forces as he tries to defend the base, but they're having to pull back now. Actually, good synergy out of the Protoss, I will say, in this fight. I think not having Lucky Tiger there hurt a little bit for that fight with Cyan, but I think the Terrans may be able to just push through here. Mazel, obviously, with that big army supply, isn't even sieging up the tanks just yet. Does have detection, and here come the BCs. So the ZTs aren't able to do anything with the detection. The BCs raining fire on the Protoss as they manage to push through, it looks like. Desperately trying to defend our Protoss players, but it's not looking too hot, as Mazel basically has as much supply as the Protoss combined. And then there's also Maligan with a ton of BCs. So not a pretty spot to be. 9, I'll make that 8 BCs out. Pushing on in with the Thor tank coming along behind it. And man, tanks do work against Stalkers, let me tell you. Actually, I guess let me just show you. You can kind of see it, I suppose. And pushing into the natural bases of the Protoss are our Terran players. And good leapfrogging out of Mazel here. Macro doing pretty well behind this as well for both our Terran players. Actually does split up a tank into Thor to the expansion. Good warp in out of Cyan though. I think Mazel will be able to clean that up, but I'm not sure it's going to matter all too much at the end of the day. Widowmine's actually doing some good damage there as well in the natural base against those Stalkers, as there is no detection and they're permacloaked, I think. Or actually, wait, is there detection or they're just getting incidentally swiped? Okay, they're just getting incidentally swiped because of the Colossi splash damage. We'll be able to push the army back, so props to them for that, but lost a lot of bases, a lot of economy there. As long as the Terrans manage to hold the counter push, I think they're going to be in a winning position here. But there's a lot of charge lots out for our Protoss players, so will that happen? Widowmines, though, are out now for both Terran players. And there are still 7 battle cruisers out on the map, with 3 more being made actively. They kind of just say, you know what, Mazel, you can have that army there. I don't really care. And just go for the bases instead, which is a good choice. Now, Zealots are good against tanks. Tanks are good against Stalkers, obviously, but Zealots extremely good against tanks. We're seeing that here, as they are able to push into the bases, and they're doing quite well. Surprisingly well. Mazel, not quite enough Widow Mines to deal with those Zealots, I think, but there are a lot of battle cruisers and just not that many Stalkers left at this point. Maligan doing some pretty good micro as well with his BCs, keeping pretty much all alive up to this point. And, well, there goes one, but still. Yamatoing the big target, and I think once they clean this army up, yeah, they've just got bases all up the left side, so I think they're going to have enough economy to be able to completely hold here. Oh, and just counter warps across the map. Big money moves out of Sir Maligan, warps straight to the main base. And with only 10 Stalkers out against like 7 to 9 BCs, you know, bit of a guesstimation. Anyways, a lot of BCs on that side of the map. I'm just not sure they're going to be able to do anything there. Looks like they're just going to try and counterattack, but I don't think this is a base trade you win here. Especially with it just being Stalkers, there's not that bank of charge lots here anymore, which means I think this is going to go pretty well for the Terrans. Even dropping an auto turret, which soaks up a lot of volleys from those Stalkers. And yeah, we'll be able to clean up even Cyan so we can kill those observers, so we can send in the Terran DTs. And there they go. Down go the observers. A couple Void Rays coming out, but not a pretty base to see if you're a Void Ray, I would say. And the battlecruiser's depowering just about everything that the Protoss has. A few gateways left, but really a good target fire on the pylons out of Sir Maligan, and you can really see the the Terrans are in their element here. Manor muling. No, I'm just kidding. Those are for repairs. But dropping down mules to repair with. Individually clicking the mules onto BCs so they each repair a different BC. I like it. I like it. And Cyan has left the game. Looks like our Terran players will be able to close it out here. GG.
Sir Maligan.
All right. That was quite a game one.
I was surprised that Pushback did well enough, right? Considering they lost most of their army. But
Yeah,
not
yeah.
enough.
Not quite enough. Yeah, they had the Terran production behind it, so.
Yeah.
Definitely a good try though. Not half bad on that pushback. I was definitely not expecting them to even hold really after that initial fight at the gold base. I mean, cleaning up all the stalkers and colossi.
We're gonna have
They
to
did a good
ask
job.
Cyan, too, why he was attacking that planetary. Nothing was happening. Kind of stood there for a very long time, which means they could sneak up on you like they did. They trapped them.
Yeah, that's true. They did a good wrap around there, came in pretty in sync, and I would say that was a thing that we saw them struggle with in the previous series, I think, if I'm remembering right. But their attacks weren't always in sync every time. But I think they've improved with that for sure, which is good.
Yeah, they definitely look a lot better than before. Just coming up short. I think if you played this way in the beginning of the season, they probably could have taken a few games. But unfortunately, people are warmed up now. Even Benzel, they're playing better now. We saw them. Benzel was out of sync in many games, right? Seen them kind of doing different things, and they don't look like they're fight together. But this time they are.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, the first game of the first series they played in this season started out with them. I think Maligan eBay blocked, but didn't actually block the Nexus properly, so they were able to just plop the Nexus down next to the engineering bay anyways.
Yeah.
So definitely a lot of improvement has been made on both sides throughout the season. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we're hopping in. It is
FSL Season 4.
That's not the line. The line is you are watching. Anyways, in the upper right-hand side, it is our orange Protoss player. He is
Lucky Tiger.
And his ally in the blue, our Protoss player, he is
Cyan.
And like the Archons of yore, or I guess the DTs of yore, they merge together to form
Predators.
And in the bottom left, their opponents, we have the green Terran player. He is
DLS Mizel.
And his teammate, he is
Sir Maligan.
And looking better than ever together, they are
Benzel.
all right. Well, let's see if any adjustments are made in this game from either side, really. Still those early cannons coming down from Lucky Tiger. They were able to pretty much completely deny the Widow Mines from coming in and getting a lot of damage done in the previous game, and denied the Reaper early on. Cyan going for that proxy pylon, potentially for a proxy Oracle, I would have to guess, based off the positioning. And, I mean, Mizel in the previous game made a lot of Hellions and not a whole lot of anti-air, so could definitely get a lot of damage done with an Oracle if he does that again. And no expansion coming down just yet for the Protoss players. Tech building before expansion. Maybe a proxy Void Ray? I can't imagine it would be. That's a little bit far away, I think, but there's the option for it. Are they just scouting this? Well, that's just so rude. I think they might just miss it based off that Reaper scouting pattern, but if he saw that probe there, he knows there's a proxy 100%, so... Oh, man, it's right nearby. Surely, I'm not sure if he noticed that he killed the probe. Yeah, he sees it. Okay, he knows. Man, that is an unfortunate start. I feel like if you... Maybe he wouldn't have even scouted that if he'd not seen the probe there, so if the probe had stayed with who knows what might have happened, but... Oracle's still going to get chronoed out, but an unfortunate scout, if you are a Protoss player at least. Very smart out of Mazel. Obviously, there is that big airspace there, which means there's a whole lot of surface area to drop a proxy Stargate down and get some damage done. So some good prediction out of Mazel there. Oh, and he's putting in a Widow Mine. That would be the saddest thing ever if... Okay, Oracle is just going to defend against the Reaper, so it might not even go in initially because it won't have enough energy. Will it even get the Reaper? Oh, no. Oh, no. Not like this. Oh, my gosh, it doesn't even get the Reaper. Wow, this is not an ideal start, I will say. And the Reaper's like, well, I guess I'll go back to shooting at the pylon. I don't know, man. I just work here, lady. Wow, well, that is a very unfortunate start for Cyan. Not even quite able to get the Reaper because Oracles are a little bit stupid with their targeting. I think they actually like nerfed them so that because the way that you could do like a micro trick before to where the Reaper would get the Oracle would get 2 shots off for the price of 1, basically, if you retargeted it right. So when they patched it to fix that, they made Oracles really stupid. And so 90% of the time you tell them to shoot something and they just don't. But does manage to clean up the Reaper there. Stalker's coming out. The Void Ray's on the way for Lucky Tiger, and our Terran players taking expansions a good bit ahead of the Protoss. I guess Maligance isn't that far ahead, but Mazel's is quite a bit ahead, I think. As it's already in orbital as well, so a pretty decent start for the Terrans. Good scouting, smart stuff out of Mazel there. Very good Reaper pathing. And there's something happening in the main base of the blue Protoss, I think. Is that a Widow Mine drop? Indeed it was. I did not see how many probes it killed. Oh, he lost 11 probes. Ooh. I think those 2 Widow Mines just killed 11 probes, and one of them got out, I think, even. So that is, this is just a monstrously good start for the Terran players this game. Holy cow. That is so much damage. I mean, completely denying the Oracle and then being able to follow it up with a super successful Widow Mine drop. I mean, dang, that's really unfortunate. Another Widow Mine drop coming in, 2 at once, and it's 4 Widow Mines this time. 2 Widow Mines and 2 Hellions actually. So even if you run the probes, that means you stack them up. That's so smart. I like it. If you run the probes, then they kind of naturally stack up so the Hellions can splash damage them. And if you don't run the probes, Widow Mines. So actually really smart there. Good splash damage on the Widow Mines as well. I don't know. Do they have detection out? They have an Oracle. So Cyan will be able to detect that. It's coming back now. So these Widow Mines shouldn't get off any additional shots. And indeed, they do not get cleaned up. Oh, I think I just saw we had a lag spike right there. So Mazel pulling a pause. As we talked about, some ping issues for him. Very understandable.
Indeed.
There we go. Lag for Mazel. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of lag there. And but, man, what a start, KJ.
Yeah. And that's not the start that these underdogs really need, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
a great start
obviously
in the last game because they stuffed the Reaper attack. They stuffed on the left side with the Stalkers, right? And,
right.
Then they didn't micro. That's the only thing. Oh no, they didn't macro last time, right? They weren't like making stuff. So that's
they were
pretty apparent weakness.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of probes going down there. Complete denial of the of the Oracle, and I think we really see that manifesting because Cyan in the previous game was, I think, leading the worker count, whereas for the first like 8 minutes of the game, whereas right now he's tied for the lowest worker count, so that's a lot of damage going in on him.
Yep.
Obviously, the Terrans have been bullying him almost purely, I think in large part because there are so many cannons
There you go.
for Lucky
And-
Tiger. So they
And we
they're
know
just
their
sending
ping.
all their
They
attacks
say-
there.
looks like Mizelle's ping is back to a good 260, which is really not that good, but it's good enough to compete with.
He's cruising now.
Yep.
His units only have to think for a few seconds before doing what he asks them to. So not bad. Here we go. We will resume, and the Widow Mines do get cleaned up. Obviously, without that lag spike, Mizell would have been able to get those Widow Mines out for completely free after killing 30 more probes, but what can you do? And Cyan looking to move out a little bit, maybe. I think they kind of do need to leverage the army that they have, because it's a pretty good army. There's no Blink, but it's a good amount of Stalkers. They have a good amount of Void Rays out as well, so they can DPS down any bunkers or anything like that, which are pretty essential to the defense of the Terran early on before they can get Stim and whatnot out, although in this case it's Mech. But that's even more so than that they're going for Mech. They don't really have the Marine force to be able to defend super well. And pure Hellion is not going to do too hot against this. And they do have the detection for the Widow Mines this time pretty easily. Okay, good. Yeah, he detects it. So those Widow Mines are going to be able to get shut down as well. And this is looking a lot better for our Protoss players, actually, than it was 30 seconds ago, somehow. Oh, it does lose one of the Cyclones. Doesn't kill any units with the other. And, I mean, they definitely took a lot of worker damage and whatnot and got shut down pretty hard as far as the Oracle goes. But, I mean, the army composition is just really good. And there is this weak spot in Terran Mech, especially in this matchup, where you actually have to get up to it before it, does anything. Oh, massive Widow Mine hits. I'm not sure that that's going to be enough. He is repairing the BC pretty hard, and the Void Rays are out of overcharge, and they have a planetary at their natural. Okay, I think this is actually a hold. And while this was good damage, Mizelle's on 3 base with that pocket expansion, so which is a gold, by the way. So this is actually, they're cruising a little bit. I think these Stalkers might be just in range of these Widow Mines as well. They are in range of one of them. That's 2 more Stalkers that go down. That's so painful. The Void Rays are getting some damage done, but now there's a Void Ray out. Or not a Void Ray, sorry. A Thor out. So, I mean, man, that looked like it had some potential, but I think the Terrans are going to be able to hold. And if they hold here, they have a pretty good worker advantage. And, oh, there goes the BC across the map. I think there's some cannons there that'll keep it a little bit busy for the moment. Oh, the Widow Mines are getting ready to fire again. Okay, they didn't fire just yet. Oh, yeah, here comes another Widow Mine hit. Oh my gosh, it's so painful. Oh, and now they're going to walk into another one. Oh man, and so many probes going down on the other side of the map as well. The Thor just barely kills that. Oh my goodness, an absolute Widow Mine field at this point. And yeah, the Terrans, I mean, it looked dire there for a minute for them. But they've stabilized, and now they are in a commanding position in this game. Obviously, the Protoss not out just yet, but definitely struggling economically. Man, oh man. Well, it really looked like it had potential there, had a good army, but Widow Mines kind of strong. I think they accidentally AFK'd the Oracle after the initial cleanup of a couple Widow Mines, which meant that, suddenly those mines are getting new shots and they're burrowing more mines and everything like that. So a little unfortunate there. I do like Marcel not even breaking the rocks down at any point. He's like, this base is exclusively homegrown SCVs, no imports. So only the SCVs that this command center builds are going to be mining from here. And he is taking a 4th base as well, so continuing to macro, not really getting set off guard too much by that attack. A lot of times, if you just barely hold an attack, you're kind of in this mode of like panicking, and you're like, I just got to make units because I just barely held it last time, right? But he's doing a good job of just, and both of them are just continuing to macro up and going, we held, we're good now. We've got Widow Mines. We're feeling pretty comfy. So that BC going to come back and get repaired up, hopefully. The gold base is now available for Lucky Tiger or Cyan to take. Definitely want to take that ASAP. I think it looks like Cyan is going to let Lucky Tiger take that, and he's just going to take a base out to the left, maybe? Oh, he might hide a base, or this might just be a random probe that's doing nothing. Oh, that's a Stalker. You know what? He's probably not making a base with that. I'm gonna go on a limb. a little bit. So, anyways, scanning for expos, so they know that they haven't taken that at least. I don't think they're aware that the gold base hasn't been taken yet. If they know that, they're probably going to feel pretty good with themselves right now, as that's a lot of income that they're having an advantage with, as they do have their gold base up and pretty much fully mining, I believe. And Mazel at 74 workers. He's eclipsing the economies of every other player. That Stalker does scout out the top bases, so no, they haven't taken that at least. And I mean, based off the sensor towers, you can kind of get an idea of what bases they do have. It's sort of like X marks the spot, except it's the little sensor tower O marks the base, in a way. No, but Mazel coming in. BC's following up. And Siege tanks coming in, sieging up. Will pull back, does Cyan. Lucky Tiger trying to go into Sky Toss, which I actually kind of like. Maybe they went, you know what happened? We lost, but you remember that last series they played where that one guy just kept going Sky Toss? Maybe we should try that. I don't know. Maybe the conversation was something like that. Maybe it didn't. I'm not a historian, guys, okay? I'm just a caster. But anyways, we'll lose the base no matter what, but I think they might just lose their army here. And this time, I think if they lose their army, they might just lose the game on the flip side of things, because that's a ton of Void Rays. If they don't have a good trade here, at least, they're not going to have anything to defend with at home. Although, I guess it's funny, because you'd think 80 supply versus 121, it's like, wow, Lucky Tiger's in a terrible spot as far as army goes. But in reality, he's got like 60 army supply, and Mazel has like 40. So, because Mazel has so many workers, it may wind up to where they just have enough army to overcome, despite the fact that they have, in theory, a pretty nice worker advantage. And catching the BCs, this is painful as well. Void Ray is obviously a good bit faster than BCs. One of the few units who can shoot while moving back at you. So, more Thors coming out. Obviously, those are pretty good against Void Rays, especially if they stack up. But this time, the Protoss are not the flanked, but the flankies, and will catch the remaining BCs. And once again, I mean, sure, they have a lot of economy, but they just don't have that much in army supply. The active forces tab, I mean, it's like 6,000 resources active in army for Lucky Tiger, and Mazel only has about 4,000. So, actually looking pretty solid here. It does lose a ton of Stalkers. They do have a lot of missile turrets. They do clean up a good amount of the Void Rays and pull the tanks back. There's still a lot of Widow Mines, and there's no detection. I think if they had detection with this might have been a whole other game, but as it is, they might wind up holding here. Almost out of interceptors. There's only 2 remaining. The Void Rays are slowly dying as well, and the repair comes in. Oh my gosh. Maligan and Mazel pulling this hold out of nowhere, really. I mean, I guess the Widow Mines are good, but like in theory, I think the Protoss had the advantage here. They just didn't have the detection. Although, technically, they sort of had the detection. It just wasn't far enough forward. But, I mean, a hold there puts them in a really solid position, because all the Protoss really had was their big army. They don't have the economy behind it, so once you lose that army, they don't have the economy needed to replace it, and the Terrans have that plus a bunch. I mean, Mazel obviously floating more resources than Lucky Tiger could even dream of at this point. They are able to deny these bases, but I mean, the whole bottom right-hand side of the map is the Terrans to hold. And they're even moving out to counterattack. Mazel moving out to attack while Maligan staying at home. And the Protosses are going to get caught out here, I think, or like get caught unawares. This base is definitely going to die. And if they try and move in, I think the Widow Mines might do some work again on the defense. And if they pull back, then same thing, really. I mean, Widow Mine Thor. Okay, they are looking to go in over here. The BCs are getting ready to Yo Mama Tomato the the carriers down. I don't know why I call it that. I just do. Don't talk to me. Anyways, Void Rays trying to defend, but that's a lot of Terran. And even if they manage to clean up these extremity bases for Maligan, I don't think that's going to be enough for our Protoss players here, because they are struggling to maintain any relevant supply in this game. And that's a lot of Widow Mines all over the place for Mazzelli. He's pushing through with the Thor tank mine. A strong composition if you are high on ping like he is. And a lot of BCs out from Maligan. Some decent micro to try and defend against the Void Ray carrier. And with the last Void Ray's fallen, it's just Stalkers really and some paperweight carriers with no interceptors. Which are about as useful as probes at this point. Actually, I guess probes would have been mighty useful 5 minutes ago, but now, not too useful. The cannon's trying to hold, but the Terrans are pushing through, and I think with this, Benzel is going to, if not completely secure, come very close to securing their playoff spot. As holy cannoli. Epic holds out of our Terran players in all games, really. I mean, Game 1 and Game 2, they had some really good holds, and they're pushing through now. I don't think there's really much the Protoss can do at this point. They've got an army, but it's a small one, and there's a lot of BCs out. And even if they somehow manage to take down the BCs, well, on the flip side of things, you got a maxed out mech player behind that. So, a rough position to be in, no doubt. So Void Ray's trying to hold, but the Thors move in and slap them down. Stalker's getting some good work done, but they needed to get an infinite amount of work, really. As Benzel, the power of the intro, propels them, it would seem, to a 2-0 victory. As Cyan loses most of his remaining Stalkers, trying to get anything he can done, but just not quite able to do enough. And, yeah, I mean, well played out of all teams here, but it's going to be GG. And, yeah, GG indeed.
I still ain't the man at this game. That's just a shame. Dun, 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 dun. Let me go listen to this.
All right. There you go, guys. Well, we're back.
Hey, good game, guys.
Guys, you know, Predators, you lost, but that was, you know, you guys played really well, actually.
Yeah, that was really good.
The best games you played all season.
It was a good
That's
match.
not enough for this playoff-hungry team. Right?
Yes, we are hungry.
That's right. So, nice try. Gotta get your Infinity C, aka Lucky Tiger. Get on your cams. There you go. So, nice job, guys. Even though you played well, but I know you guys will keep improving. One thing I did have a question on is on the first game, Cyan, you were attacking the planetary. You just kind of didn't make any damage because those repairs were ridiculous. You really couldn't kill it.
Oh yeah, that. Oh yeah.
But you kind of stayed there for a while. How come? Because you know what will happen.
Well, I really didn't think he would come up behind me. I was waiting for his units to come from the left side of my screen.
Ah, I see. So you didn't.
And I didn't think he would come behind me, so that's why I had the one Colossus just sitting there, like just picking off the SCVs little by little. And then I looked and I was like, "Oh, I'm surrounded." So
yeah, and that pretty much got you, But otherwise, pretty good game, guys. Your defense, anti mines, anti Reaper cannons, those kind of things. That was kind of cool.
I was surprised when I got there. I was like, oh my gosh, there's 3 cannons.
Yeah.
We couldn't do anything. I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Cyan could have used that cannons in game 2, right? What happened in game 2? We missed it. We missed the mines killing how many, ET?
I think it was 11 probes, 10 or 11.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, I think I was the only one potentially had a forge down, so that's why I saw that. I came down, put pylons back on both sides of his, and then a single battle cruiser came by and said, "What's up?" I was like, "Oh, I mean, like, hey, your building's still up. That's all that matters, right?"
Well. All right.
So I did want to ask Benzel, obviously, in that first game, after you did surround Cyan's army, which is a good move. I mean, I think we were all kind of expecting the game to just kind of roll over and die from there. But were you pretty surprised when they actually started pushing you back across the map?
Yeah, we lost our main force. I was like, what? We lost that? Okay, regroup. Yeah, we kind of lost steam there. I was like, what happened there? I think we mismanaged. I mismanaged my battle cruisers as well. So, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any answer for the battle cruisers. Once we saw them, it was already too late because we didn't have any void rays. All I had were the blink stalkers, but at that point in the game, they're really, unless you have 50 blink stalkers, they're pretty useless against the PCs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Giselle, what do
Absolutely.
you
And
think?
Well, the only plan we had was keep dropping, but they had the cannon, so we just need to adjust. And yeah, good defense by the Predators. GG.
Yeah, I'm guessing you guys saw some of our games. How we love drops.
I knew the drops were coming. That's why I had in the first game. That's why I had the stalkers up in the back, and then kind of one over here to spot, if it was going to come that way, and it did. And I was lucky enough to get those. And
Scion said Reapers. I'm like, yeah, okay, well,
I
I'm
really
not
thought
fast
Reapers
enough for
were
these
coming
guys,
first.
so I'm just going to drop cannons. That's
Yeah.
just click, and just go think about do something else.
Yeah,
And
that's
it
true.
was cool to see one die. Like, oh, he's trying to get away.
That's right. Pretty much stops the drops.
All right. Any other questions, ET?
No, I mean, just very well played out of everyone. And man, the holds back and forth in that game were incredible. Everybody played really well. So good job.
Yeah. Good job, guys. Good games.
All right.
Good games. Good games.
These guys.
Games. So we'll have Cyan stay on. Everybody else, good games. We'll see you guys.
Avenge me, Scion.
Yeah. So with that,
Cyan, can you join FSL channel in StarCraft so I can invite you? But we have Cyan versus Instability. Let's get Instability to join us here.
sure. While you're doing that, it looks like this is not updated yet. Benzel.
Well, yeah, it is updated, but we still can't we can't finalize some positions here. The only thing we can finalize is the first 2 seeds. The rest, it's still up in the air. So
Got it. All right. Well, we got Code S coming up here, and this is a pride game for them. So for these two.
All right. Well, Cyan, how are you feeling going into this? Obviously, PvP, it's a little hard to prep for. You feeling all right?
I feel pretty good, watching a lot of DreamHack here and PvP builds. So I feel pretty confident. I think I have the build down that I want. So we'll see how this goes.
All right. And Instability, I hear that the one night you need it, you're having trouble finding Protosses on the ladder. Is that true?
Yeah, but I found some pretty nice Terrans, so.
There you go. All right. It's like, where have you guys been this whole season, It's been 90% Protoss on my ladder games, so. All right, how are you feeling going into it? Feel pretty well prepared?
I don't know. I feel like, yeah, like you said, it's very, very hard to prepare for PvP, and I have no idea what's gonna happen.
All right. Well, I think this might actually be your first PvP since that first game against Neutrophil at the start of the season, so it'll be good to see that matchup again.
Oh, is that right? That's crazy.
I'm not sure if that's the case. I'm trying to think.
What do you think, Instability? You might remember more.
Played a Protoss game against Frieden.
Frieden. Okay, there you go. Only against randoms though, so
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
dedicated Protoss.
yeah, because we have 8 players, 2 randoms, 2 Protoss, 2 Terrans, and 2 Zergs. So
Okay,
it's
there
a
you go.
pretty well distributed race there.
Wow, nice job. Cool.
The most mixed bag you could get. All right, well, good luck to both our players, and we'll see you guys in there.
All right, we're gonna mute and deafen you. Talk to you guys after the match.
Oh, what do you think? What's your prediction here?
Well, it's hard to know. I mean, I feel like it's going to be decently well matched. Obviously, I think Instability has a slightly better map score throughout the season, but Cyan has been improving quite a bit, so we'll have to see how it goes. What I can tell you, though, everyone, is that you are watching
FSL Season 4.
And in the bottom, left-hand side of Jagannatha, she is.
Instability.
Getting a little bantery with it with their opponent in the upper right. In the blue, he is.
Cyan.
So the one interesting stat, though, if you look at the standings, she does only have 1 win, but she does have 5 map wins. So she pushed almost all the games to a 2-1 game.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that would be, yeah, basically every
I think there's
like
only
maybe 2 or 3 series out of her like 7 she's played that didn't go.
So
the
there's
full
only
distance.
1 game that she lost 2-0, but the rest were 2-1. So either her victory 2-1 or she lost 1-2, and that's that's as close as you can get. And
Yeah.
I don't think it's indicative on her 1-5 record on where she is really.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, yeah, we've seen a lot of improvements out of all the players. It's one of the really cool things about like this format where it takes quite a while to go throughout the entire season. So, a lot of improvements throughout for all the players. But one thing I can tell you guys is that I have not had any water, and I've been casting for like an hour and a half. So KJ, if you could take over for just a second.
Absolutely. I
Let me
would
grab
love
a
to
water.
talk about this while we see this. So, the analysis here, a little bit of probe action here. Now, I'll tell you, I think Instability is going to 2-0 here. All our series have been 2-0 tonight. And last week we had all 2-1s, right? So, look, she even wins the probe battle.
Yeah, that's a good start. And the 2-1s that she lost, if we go back to them, they were really, really close, and some of them were
Yeah.
just build order losses, right?
Yeah.
Where she decides, I'm gonna go a quick DT, but then she gets rushed by a roach, aggressive attack. And
Yeah,
so,
look at this. Gas steal, she got 2 adepts coming. Cyan better be on top of this wall, because these adepts are gonna wreck him if he's not ready.
yeah, and so whenever I play PvP, I hate having to leave a probe up there in the high ground, but you have to, even if you're losing money,
Yeah.
it's worth it just to block those adepts, right? And I don't know if Cyan's gonna be able to do that here. Let's see.
So, Instability knows there's stalkers in play. So, typically what I would do is I go around and wait to know where the stalkers are before I go in. So, she may hang out in the back or on the side somewhere before she dives in, right?
Yeah.
And behind that, she's going to expand. This is a solid play for Protoss. Okay, so she just got to make sure she doesn't get run over by some sort of cheese. But
yeah, I mean, she's not expanding too early, right? She opted
she's
to
gonna
get
go
those
straight in?
stalkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think these 2 stalkers, even if they were there, they have enough DPS for them to kill these adepts.
Oh, I
she
think she
cancelled it,
should
though.
have went for it because you can kill 4 or 5 workers easily, right?
Yeah, so the one.
Oh, there you go.
using
This
a lot
one
of
will do
HP.
well.
But this is gonna be. Oh,
It's a little off on the control here, but she's still gonna cause a probe pull and
yeah, that's
And 2
actually
kills.
that's a lot of damage. Indirect damage because you know how much money
Yeah.
that he didn't harvest during that time, right?
3 workers and they get out.
They get out. Yeah, so I like the fact that she made sure she opted to get the double stalkers first before expanding, because she knows if Cyan decides to go across the map, it's like, all right, forget these 2 adepts, let me go, right? They may get a lot done. So she's
Yep.
like, all right, I don't want to die to that.
So good units for Cyan. Stability with the Robo. No, PvP. Things can change pretty quick in PvP. So let's see. Right now it's pretty even. Really.
Yeah, but there's a Immortal coming out, and Cyan's unit composition is mostly stalkers, right? And so if once you have enough Immortals here and you go across the map, Cyan won't have charge. He doesn't have a Twilight, and so he won't have that anytime soon. And so if Instability does decide to pressure with 2-3 Immortals, they can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I don't know if she's that type. I think she likes to macro and play defensive. She's been cheesed all season, so she may just stay put here and just macro up.
Yeah, but you can see Cyan improving as well throughout the
Yeah,
season.
he's a lot better. I've seen that. I'm pleasantly surprised how she's hanging in there on this, because
Yeah, I
would
like that
say,
he made a sentry and sending out hallucinations as well.
Yep.
Because like what ET said, PvP is so volatile that you really need to know where your opponent is headed so you can make the good set of units. You can't just blindly make units and be blindsided by a composition that you're terrible against, right?
Yeah, one thing though Instability has stopped doing is making pros. She just resumed making pros, and she's fallen behind by 6 now, so a little bit of some Oh, okay, she's expanding also, so she's a little bit...
Yeah, I don't mind it as much. I like her...
Cyan!
Ooh, yeah. I like her immortal count. I think this is the second one coming out.
Mm-hmm. She has +1 coming with charge, so that's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This is looking good for Instability. She also
Supply
has her
is still
gases.
close.
She hasn't done it yet.
Yeah, because I think she has it where she knows she's gonna have a lot more gases at this stage. So she's like, alright, I don't need to get it yet.
Cyan's looking for expansion up there, but it's actually on the other side.
Yeah, alright, so let's see. Instability is moving out. She does not have a Warp Prism though, so she can't reinforce this. Typically, once you're gonna make a commitment to move out, you kind of want to supplement that with a Warp Prism, right?
Yeah, she's moving out before the Blink Stalkers are done though, so...
Maybe she just wants to cancel this base and then run back home. We'll see.
She doesn't know... Oh, yeah, she does know about the base. Okay, cool, so...
So maybe run up there, put some force fields to prevent quick help, and then just snipe it, and then get out of there, right?
Here goes. Get
but
that
she's gonna
pylon
focus-
first, prevent the reinforcements. Cyan's gonna let it go, because he's
Yeah,
scared.
Cyan- Yeah, he's not
Good
gonna
decision.
commit.
Good decision
But
for him, I think.
he didn't pull out the probes though, so that's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Well, there's only so much APM, so I think that's what happened there. But here he goes.
Here we go. I don't like this because there's a shield battery and also
There's two,
you can't
yeah.
force. So
probably-
this is a time where you're ahead. Well, then just get far ahead, right? Just go
Yeah.
back home. She is making the Warp Prism now, so that might indicate that she wants to really get serious on attacking in the next minute.
Yeah, she's making the extra gateways, because she didn't have enough to kind of have a legitimate attack that won't get... And now she'll have 6 total. From 2. She started with 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. You need more than 2 at this stage, especially if you have 3 bases.
And
Cyan is doing the same, so...
Cyan's gonna 1-up that, going from 4 to 8.
Yeah, and so they're just making immortals and rounding out their composition, so... The problem
Cyan,
here...
look at Cyan. Look at Cyan's army supply. He's been consistently warping in.
Yeah, the problem here though is the longer Cyan waits to really commit, he's already falling behind economically, but we're at the 8.5 minute mark, and your main base is, less than half of the minerals at that point.
She's gonna see the big army coming her.
Alright,
Oh,
here it
there
is.
She knows.
Now, did she see it or did she see it?
Well, I guess she just sent it and didn't see it because she's not doing anything.
I mean, we're not pros where we're constantly glancing on our minimap, right? I mean, I miss these move out as well a lot. So
yeah,
I don't blame her if she doesn't see it. But she has a decent army here, and she can
defensive
warp in a bunch
advantage.
of... Yeah, there's a unless
Oh no!
this well
Cyan
What-
decides not to.
one force field there, but
But look,
yeah,
she
but
has a
I-
4th base, man.
I know she's just macroing away here, and then
the kinda
she's
game
even
she
getting
loves.
her, to round out this composition, because the immortals and stalkers are not gonna fare well against charge slots, and so if there's a lot of charge slots, they're not very efficient. So that's why you round it out with archons, and there is the Templar Archives, and she does have a lot of gas, and she can warp in a bunch of Templars to make into archons here. +2 is almost done. Yeah, I like where instability is here.
Yep.
Oh, then she knows she does not have charge. I thought she researched charge in the very beginning. I could be wrong.
Oh wait, I'm the one who didn't know that she does have charge. I could have sworn I didn't
Alright,
see it there in
ET's
the list.
back, guys.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, you guys are doing such a fantastic job. I'm enjoying it too much. I want you guys to finish this game out at the very least, and then I can help on the rest.
Right. Alright, so here the Archons join the fray, but there are not a lot of Zealots remaining. They're all on the left side, but I think Instability is gonna clean this up, especially with the Guardian Shield activated. That really helps out against the Stalkers. And there's just, you know, the way you gauge how powerful the Protoss army is really counting how many Immortals are remaining after the battle.
Yeah,
and with 4 there, and with a Warp Prism ready to reinforce, I think she's just going to be marching to victory.
She's also +2 versus 0-0, right? So
Science attack upgrade's almost done, but I don't think it's going to matter. Not gonna. He might GG before that even finishes. Alright, so there the probes all fell, and I think those are, you know, the more meaningful probes, because I don't think there's any left in the main in terms of mineral nodes. And a few more warp ins here, and I think this will seal the deal. She does have 7 warp gates, but she's not warping it in yet. Alright, she did drop some extra gateways, but she wants to chase the stragglers here. And I guess she just wants to wipe this out before finishing out Cyan, and I think, you know, it's not a bad decision, right? You just want to make sure I don't take any economic damage. But yeah, look at those. Just the sheer number of charge slots here.
She's running away with this one, guys.
Yeah, there's the GG. Nice game by Instability.
Absolutely. And I would like to throw in there, in that fight in the middle, I think that was one of the best micro moves I've seen out of Instability all season. She blinked exactly 4 Stalkers past Cyan's army and targeted the Prism down with it.
Nice.
So it was just enough to kill the Prism and deny any reinforcements while also not dedicating too much of her damage to that. So that was really
That's a grown-up move, man. I'm in Masters and I don't do that.
That's not
right.
That's not just a grown-up move. Those are pro moves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Very well done.
Right. So game number 2 is gonna be Romanticide. Everybody loves that map as Protoss, but they're both Protoss, so
everybody's going to be having a great time, basically.
What I saw there, Cyan played pretty well in the beginning part of the game. It was what made the difference is what the units and losing his 3rd base, right?
Yeah. I think economic wise, the standpoint, Cyan was ahead in the very beginning. But after that, once Instability got ahead with the probe count, and that was it.
Yeah, I think he faltered a little bit after he lost the 3rd, because he dropped 4 extra gateways, which is like a very all-in move off 2 base. But then I think, didn't think he could kill her there. But I think if he'd actually just warped in with his Prism, he might have been able to kill her, because she was probing pretty hard, and she only went up to 6 gateways. But he went ahead and dropped a 3rd and the double forge instead. But he definitely had an opportunity there, but it's a hard thing to know, especially in PvP with Super Battery. It's like, sure, I might be up 30 army supply, but is that enough to overcome Super Battery? I'm not sure it is. So I can't blame him too much for it, but I think that was a big thing as well.
Yeah, but another mature move there was when Instability went out to snipe the 3rd, and she poked in at the natural and saw, you know what, there's nothing I can do, and she went home, right? And we've seen that a lot in the season where they still try to butt their heads in the wall and they lose the entire army, and that's where it falls apart. But she just went back home and she just got ahead, and I like that.
Absolutely, and I mean, we kind of even saw that in the 2v2s a little bit there. They'd push a little bit too far, get a little bit too strung out, and then the counterattack would, do a lot more than it would have if they just pulled back and regrouped a little bit. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the FSL. I'll just say it myself because we're already in game. In the upper left-hand side of the map, our blue Protoss player, he is
Cyan.
And in the bottom right, the red Protoss, she is
Instability.
All right. Well, that was a very interesting first game. Very well played by both players. Obviously, we've been going. It's been a steady like uphill curve of the leagues throughout the night. So you start off with the basics, and you get to see where we all started out, and then we're slowly climbing up the echelons. But anyways, instability, getting annoyed a little bit by Cyan here trying to block that gateway from going down. Does manage to get it. And on the flip side of things, Cyan hasn't dropped the second gateway just yet, which based off his gas timing, I think he meant to. I think he might have just forgotten it. And yeah, there we go. So trying to block instability's gateway and winds up almost blocking his a little bit as well. In a sort of metaphoric, deep way. And yeah, so a slight advantage, I'd say, to instability there. The pylon block is decent, but whenever you see the double gateway, obviously, they're planning on delaying it a little bit anyways. So I don't think it's super necessary, but not a bad move anyways. As she's macroing up a little bit. Slight advantage on the cyber timing there, but most of the time in PvP, that's not going to matter too much. And ops for this Adepts, obviously the Adepts, I think, got her off to a decent start in the first game, getting a few probes, quite a bit of lost mining time, and even made it out for free, if I remember correctly. So not too bad. Going for double Adept again, getting that Warp Gate. Cyan going Twilight Robo really quickly. So this is going to be a one-base play. I think it's just going to be like Blink Stalkers with a Prism, if I had to guess. Maybe Adepts or something like that with Glaive, but Blink would be my first guess at the very least. But a much more aggressive play. And in this case, that actually means that Instability's Pylon block is kind of nice for her because she'll know that nothing's coming, right? And it is going to be Glaives. And of course, it's hard to wall the Adepts out from shading in if they can just lift into your base with a Prism. So a cool build. I'd have to imagine this is what Cyan was referring to in his interview about the build he's been practicing. So whipping out this neat little build. You don't see this all too often in PvP, but I kind of like it. We'll have to see. Obviously, there's a difference between a lot of times, you know, you'll do something to your opponent and you'll be so happy with yourself that you forget that like they still are your opponent. Like you'll be like, I've pylon blocked his base for so long. I'm so far ahead, and it never occurs to you that the reason he hasn't killed the pylon block is because he's all-inning you. But I think she'll know at this point. She gets a full scout off on the Twilight Robo. She's dropping Twilight Robo herself, not to be outdone. And but we'll have to see. I think dropping a natural here is fine, but we'll definitely want a shield battery there and probably one in the main as well. As still no expansion coming out. And those, I mean, this is a sharp timing out of Cyan. And she's making a Forge, which is definitely not what you want, and Charge, which is probably also definitely not what you want. Oh, and she thinks it's DTs. Oh, no. She thinks it's DTs. She's not building a battery. She's building an Observer, and this could be really nasty here. Out of Cyan, a very sharp build. She really needed a shield battery here and something to block the shade in, but Probe is not quite in position there. The Observer is moving out. We'll maybe see these, but I think it's going to fly right past them. Still no base. You gotta be suspicious. Okay, she sees him now, sort of. Warping in Stalkers. Obviously, Glaive Adepts are not actually that good against Stalkers, but when there's this amount of them and there's Glaives out... Uh-oh. Well, I think he needed to just go for the main there. He had the opportunity. She wasn't ready to wall in. But now she's able to full wall. Obviously, the Prism can lift Adepts up into the main base, but it takes a little while, which means the Stalkers are able to pick them off one by one. Would definitely like to see a shield battery. I love the full wall off here. This is really good out of instability, just not even canceling it. She's like, you know what? You are on one base, and I am not, so I can afford to wall my probes in for a little bit. This fight is going pretty decently for her. She does some decent micro there, pulls one low health Stalker back, extremely low health. She targets her own Observer. Not the best micro, I guess, but still pretty decent overall. Doesn't kill the Observer. Just, I guess she's kind of mad at it for not scouting the all-in sooner. So, you know, you got to whip them into shape sometimes. Warping in Stalkers now. I like this out of Cyan. And Instability just refusing to make a shield battery. If there's a battery here, this wouldn't even be close, but as it is, well, close. I don't think it's going to matter just because she does have the production and is cleaning up the Glade to depths. There's no blink or anything, so Cyan won't be able to leverage that, and I don't think the trickle of units he's able to come out with is going to be enough to overcome this. And she's breaking out with an Immortal, which means the Stalkers are going to be in a rough position. Well, she like started to and then stopped killing the pile. Oh, she F2'd and A moved, I think is what it is. Okay, so she still can't make it out of her base, but I don't think it's going to matter. Yeah, Cyan coming up now. 4 Stalkers versus an Immortal. Loses 1 right off the bat. Good pullback micro out of instability, and I think she's going to be able to hold here. A cool build out of Cyan, but not immediately going at that first shade. I think you really needed to, unfortunately, here. And a good attempt nonetheless. Almost managed to break her there, but I think she stabilized a little bit. And does have that expansion out now. Has charge, funnily enough, I think. Yeah, charge and +1. I think that's the most instability thing of all time. It's like, when I'm getting all in on one base, I'm going to make everything. All the tech, all of my upgrades.
So, ET, one thing I did notice, when he was ready, he was supply blocked. That's why he didn't warp in for so long. Cyan was stuck at 39 supply, so that's why he didn't have any more adepts. And, of course, you're right. He didn't go all the way in the base. That was the big problem, too.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But yeah, like, I think this really reminds me of that game versus, I think it was Mazel, where he went for the proxy Rax all in and it was held by a Colossus. But having +1 and charge against a 1-base Adept all in. I mean, it'll work out in the end as she has held, but I think these Adepts still have some opportunities. I think if he just dropped some in the main base right from the get-go, you know, shade in with like 8 towards the front to keep the army busy. And if he hadn't been supply blocked, warp 4 in and run him in the main base, it could have done a lot. Still has the opportunity to do so, especially with Glaives. So, You have an expansion. Yes. The answer is yes. Asking for a friend. There you go. He does indeed have an expansion. He's also got a lot of worker kills now. 8 going down. She's still got a few, but you know, I think it's what does Pig say? Never prioritize BM over micro.
Yeah.
Not that it was a super BM move, but it's probably just like, my pylon's still there, and I have an observer in your base, but man, if only she could move that observer over to the 3rd base and check. That would be wild. Anyways, cleans, or at least defends the Prism. Needs to kind of reallocate her mining. I think she's getting a little bit lazy, feeling a little too confident now that she's held. Granted, she's still in a very good position based off the army supply and upgrades, but there's only one way to get rid of that, and that's by getting complacent. Obviously, could be starting +2, could be getting her gases mining, could be reallocating the main base, which she is finally doing. That Prism is going to fly past the Stalkers. Don't. Okay. Oh, all right, good. Does pull it back, so won't lose it there. Oh, does drop on top of that Stalker, but pulls back. Good micro out of instability once again. And honestly, she should probably just go at this point with that 3 Immortals +1, Stalkers out, just warping Zealots behind it and go. But instead is taking a 3rd base, which is an honorable way to go about it as well, I suppose. And making blink now. There comes the +2. You can see she's starting to go, oh, the game's still going. Which is a thing that happens sometimes. You're like, you know, 1 base all in me, and I'm on 2 base, so I think the game's over now, and you kind of just, your brain shuts off a little bit, and you gotta wake it up after a little bit. You're like, oh, they're catching up. I've got to start really playing now. So here we go. Is starting to actually hit her macro cycles a bit better now. As Blink coming down for both players. Immortals coming out for Cyan, and I mean, the supply is even now, where it really could be like up 40 for instability if she'd been macroing the entire time. So definitely a game out of this now at this point. Cyan definitely back into things, I would say. Still down in the upgrades a little bit, but I think that's kind of just something people have to accept when playing against instability, as she really does love those upgrades. And there's that Blink not coming into play because it's not done quite yet. Prism does make it out, and Blink now done for Cyan as he is up 10 supply. A lot of gateways coming down now, though, for instability. And there comes that third base for Cyan. We've got +2 and Blink finishing up, though, for instability. She does have a supply advantage still as far as the army goes, and a big upgrade advantage. So if she attacks here, it might be enough to just win it, but she might be a bit worried about that Prism as well. I know I would be, as it's always nerve-wracking to try and move out whenever you know your opponent could just come in and drop a bunch of Adepts or Zealots or whatever into your base. Never a fun time. Cyan definitely wants to keep this Prism alive, though, so he can warp in DTs here in a minute. It does find some damage in the main base as well. Stability does have Stalkers relatively nearby. It does have Blink. I think this might be all she wrote for yon, Mr. Prism. Oh, good Blink. Oh, he does make it out, though, into that airspace and recalls. Not bad out of Cyan. Doing quite well, really, at getting back into this game and even getting ahead a little bit. And yeah, there's that complacency coming into things. For instability, she's getting +3, though. She does have charge lots that she's starting to warp in, and she does have still a pretty solid army supply advantage. Charge coming down, though, no, for Cyan, but, I mean, +3 to +0 is going to be a massive difference. Even +2 to +0 is a massive difference. So I'm not sure it's going to matter, especially with no charge lots out just yet for Cyan. We obviously, the supplies have evened up quite a bit and even gotten ahead for Cyan, but we got to realize that even though his macro has been a bit more on point than instability, he's also still had to make some sacrifices to get to where he is, which is tech. He doesn't have charge yet. He's only just now starting his forges, so he's had to make trade-offs, and in comes the army of instability. Oh no, the Immortals are in the front as well, which means they get taken out very quickly and don't manage to contribute against the Stalkers hardly at all. And she's pushing in, I mean, is that 6 Immortals? 6 +2 Immortals against unupgraded Stalkers. It's not a very good place to be as a Protoss player, and we see that really manifesting here. This instability, even doing some Prism pickup micro. Pretty on point with the micro there. And able to warp in across the map. There are some DTs coming in for Cyan, but once again, I'm just not sure it's enough counter damage to really bring him back into this game. Instability obviously has a detection out, and yep, there we go. +2 Stalkers versus unupgraded DTs. I guess not really as important as unupgraded Stalkers versus unupgraded Stalkers, but pushing into the natural base are both players, really. And that's a lot of DTs. I'll give Cyan that, you know. I won't take that away from him. That is a lot of heckin' DTs. But I think instability is going to be able to find a way to clean him up eventually. He's trying to target down the production, interestingly enough, so that she has to come home, I think, is the idea.
You know, if he had a DT at his home base, he could clean this up.
Oh, yeah, that's true, actually. I guess, yeah, she only has the one observer at home, but it's hard to know that. Especially this late on into the game when your opponent went for detection so early on as she did.
Oh my gosh, dude. If she has warped and a DT at home, clean this up. There's no more observer.
Yeah, that's true. He needs to get a probe out, or else he's just going to straight up lose the base trade, and he does not, which means all his buildings are here. And I think her army kills buildings faster than his. Oh, she's making cannons at her third base. Nice. This is turning into a bit of a clown fiesta here, as both players racing to kill the other person's buildings. Oh no! The observer's almost dead. Oh my gosh. Alright, but not rebuilt his base. There's only like 5 buildings left, and I think that's going to be it. Some of the cannons do remain powered as well. I think there's just not quite enough DPS to overcome maybe the battery. He's not targeting the other battery down. Just has to move down and kill the last 2 buildings, and that'll be it. I'm sure she'll figure that out before all of her buildings get killed, but a good attempt out of Cyan, honestly. That's about as close as you could make it after the how poorly that fight went, and GG.
All right,
well,
guys.
well.
You know, Cyan, you were one DT away from possibly winning that game if you made one where you were getting attacked at home. She didn't have an observer there.
I didn't know that. I thought maybe she had one there, and then right there near the end. Yeah, right there near the end, I was like, all right, let me just warp one back and see what happens if she had already taken the shrine out.
Yeah, I think
like,
you did that first.
Yeah.
You would have cleaned up her units and then maybe win this base trade, honestly. But, you know, you wouldn't know that, like you said. But, you know, you want to try, right? You have several warp-ins. You want to send one. I always do that, so just FYI. Nice job. Pretty close, game 2.
Yeah. I think game 2 was... honestly, both games were very interesting with the base trade there at the end. And that was was that the build you were referring to, Cyan, in the pre-interview? That Adept all-in?
Yeah, I've seen other people use it before, and I've used it on ladder, and it seems to work pretty good, even against Protoss. With the Glaives upgrade, you know, you get 9 or 10 of them out right there at that point at like the 420, 430 mark, somewhere in there, and they can just wreck Stalkers pretty easy too.
Well, you know what? You're gonna kick yourself. You're gonna kick yourself because Seth is about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
You should have shaded in, but you canceled it, and then you were supply blocked. So if you had gone in, you would have definitely wrecked her probe line. You would have been way ahead.
Yeah,
I thought you had it walled off.
No, it wasn't.
I think the biggest thing is I think your timing was very sharp, and you were in position. But I think when you transformed the prism to warp in, you were supply blocked, and you didn't make a pylon for another minute or two. And then you waited, and at that point it was too late because instability started making units.
Yeah, those were 2 spots where you could have still won, right? The first one is if you'd shaded all the way in. She wasn't blocking it. She didn't block it in time, actually. She just canceled.
That was the first shade, not the second shade.
The first
shade,
shade, yeah, for sure.
Oh,
the first
okay.
shade, you had that one right there. You gotta go for it next time. But then the second time, you still could have won, but you didn't get supply block. And then the third time you could have won was the DT. But, you know, these are small things that I'm sure you'll improve on your next things. Nice job on the second game. The first game, what do you think? The first game was kind of rough, but, you know, what do you think about that?
Well, I've seen a lot of Protoss. They're opening, you know, 2 bays, get a couple Stalkers with the Sentry, and then you Expo after that. And then you just kind of, you know, see what they're doing, scout and see it. Her army was just bigger than mine. She macroed better. So I think I was behind from, I think, the start on that one, I felt like.
Yeah, my only question there is, I think you were in good position. You guys had 3 bases each, and Instability moved out to attack your 3rd base. And as soon as she attacked the pylon, instead of trying to save it, your army went back to your natural, and you say, "Hey, I'm giving that up." And I think that was the turning point on where she went way far ahead. And what was the reasoning on why you didn't want to save your 3rd base?
I think I only had like maybe 1 or 2 Immortals, and I could have sworn she had maybe 4 at the time. I might have miscounted. And I had no shield batteries there. They were at my natural, so I felt like I wasn't going to get a good engage right there, so that's why I backed up.
Yeah, because I think that was the turning point in that game where you guys were pretty much even. You even had a worker lead at that point.
Yeah.
But then after that engagement, and then she just skyrocketed ahead.
Okay, I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's a nice job this season. You know, you were actually pretty close to a lot of wins. You're just a small thing here or there. So we look for your improvement in next season 5. Okay.
It will be there. Trust me.
All right.
Yeah. And I guess since we're giving small tips, one thing as well in that game too is with the pylon block. I think if you send your first couple of Adepts to kill that, it denies a lot more information. Obviously, I doubt you've played against too many pylon blocks in PvP like that, but her just having that comfort of knowing, well, he definitely hasn't taken his natural and he probably didn't expand to his 3rd, gives her a lot more information. So yeah, I'd say just while those are AFK and kind of waiting for the glaives to come in, it's probably good to send those down and kill that pylon. But anyways, very good attempt overall. Yeah. And yeah, looking better and better throughout the season, I'd say. So
all right, Cyan, and
thank you.
Now let's talk to our winner. Congratulations, Instability. What do you think? How are you feeling?
I don't know. Glad I didn't lose, I guess. But other than that, I don't really know. It's not like I got into the playoffs because I won, so it doesn't really matter that much, I guess.
Gotcha. That's
But
a
they were fun
championship
games.
Yeah. Championship mindset is what I was gonna say, right? She's not satisfied just winning. She wanted to be in the play.
Yeah, I mean what I mentioned the beginning of the second game. She does have this weird stat on the standings.
Yeah.
Where she only has won 2 games head to head, but she does have 7 map wins.
Two
that tells-
series is head to head is what he means, but several games, right? One.
Yeah, so map wins. She has 7 map wins, and that's a lot of wins for only having 2, wins in the match column, right?
Yeah,
And so that means you're pushing your opponent to the limit, and I think all of your games, except for one, went 2-1, and all of them could have gone either way.
Well, you know what? She was one Baneling bust away from winning that one game, one small thing, and then another one with a DT just barely getting in. So that's how close it is.
Yeah.
Insane.
That's true. And she would have been, instead of 2 wins, she would have been at 4, which is fighting for a playoff spot, right?
Yep,
or actually
yep.
clinch the playoff spot. So
Well.
it's just that small difference. But I think you played very well this season, and it's nice to finish strong, right? That
It's
was
just
the last game for both of them.
Oh, it's the last game. Okay. Well, we're gonna have a 2v2 special before playoffs begin, so maybe you and ET Phone Home can team up. But ET has to be his worst race, right? So there you go. So think about that, guys.
We might be over our MMR threshold here, but
we'll have to check. We'll have to check. I mean, Kodeo is pretty good, so I'd like to see that.
Yeah, we have a special there on Kodeo taking on a pretty high MMR team. So
Yeah. It's a show match, so we don't really need to worry about that too much. But just think about that. But it was great watching you this season, Instability, and hopefully we'll see you for season 5.
Thanks for letting me play. It was pretty fun.
All right.
That will do it for. What do you think, ET Phone Home? Regular season almost over.
Yeah, it's wrapping up. It's been quite the journey, and thanks for inviting me to all the cast and stuff. It's been a lot of fun. So
great.
I'm looking forward to next season, and I guess the playoffs as well. Hopefully, I can hop on a day or two for the playoffs. We'll see.
And Seth, let's look at this playoffs. What is it looking like? Is it set now? Not yet, right?
Yeah, so it's not yet. The last 2 slots are being fought among Freedom, Hurt in Time, and Zell. So
oh my gosh.
we each have a 1 game remaining. Actually, all of them except for that. So we'll see how this shakes out. But the top 3 there are set. They're not going to miss the playoffs. It's just now the bottom 2 out of the 3 here.
Got it. All right. Well, now we have that set up. I think it's pretty close. We're going to post up the results in the playoff bracket soon. The likely playoff bracket. But that'll do it for day 25 of FSL. Only a few more days of regular season plays. Thanks for hopping on, guys. Cyan, Instability, ET Phone Home. You guys have a good weekend. We'll see you guys. Keep supporting the remaining players. Study them for season 5, and we'll see you guys soon.
GG's.
GG's, guys. Laters.